that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, a clear majority of Jamaicans now believe the Andrew Holness-led Jamaica Labour Party deserves a third term in government.
Manchester, Portland and Trelawney are the parishes with the highest level of support for a third term for the JLP.
Operations at several government-run departments and agencies were crippled today by bomb threats.
The PNP has changed the proposed funding model for its promised increase of the income tax threshold to $3.5 million.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has clarified that he wants to see the country have its own final local appellate court.
In news from the rest of the world, Irish missionary among 8 people freed in Haiti kidnapping.
Trump moves to cut $5 billion in foreign aid already approved by Congress.
In headline sports, football star Mason Greenwood declines invitation to play for Jamaica in World Cup qualifiers.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, the nationwide Blue Dot polls powered by Total Tools Jamaica, Kingston, Ocho Rios and Drax Hall. Total Tools Jamaica, every tool, every trade. It's the race to 32 in this evening's Nationwide at 5 special, the big results of the nationwide Blue Dot poll. With days to go before the general election, which of the two major political parties is set to win? Is it the Mark Golding-led PNP or Andrew Holness's Labour Party?
And we polled voters in the weather-vane seats of Southwest St. Elizabeth, Southeast St. Elizabeth, and Western St. Mary. You'll hear how they intend to vote, and with them, the country.
Chief Insights Officer at Blue Dot, Jenny Stevens-Taylor, is here with all the data. We'll analyze the results with our panel.
And at 8, it's the A-Team with Dennis Brooks.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Friday afternoon, it's Blue Dot Poll Results Day, Friday, August 29, 2025.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details.
The nationwide Blue Dot polls powered by Total Tools Jamaica, Kingston, Ocho Rios and Drax Hall. Total Tools Jamaica, every tool, every trade.
A clear majority of Jamaicans now believe the Andrew Holness-led Jamaica Labour Party deserves a third term in office. That sentiment has increased by 5 points since last May. That's according to the latest nationwide Blue Dot polls powered by Total Tools. It's a big vote of confidence for the governing party as it enters the final stretch of the 2025 election campaign. Ricardo Brooks has the numbers.
The Labourites have been telling anyone who will listen that a third term is loading. In fact, some have been bold enough to predict it's already loaded. According to the Blue Dot data, they may well be right. When the pollsters asked 1,511 registered voters whether Andrew Holness and his government deserve a third term, 55.5% said yes. That's up 5 points from the 50.3% who gave the same answer in May. It's also a near 8-point jump from the 48% who said yes in September last year. 44% of the respondents want to see the back of Holness and his Green Army. But the Labourites need not be too daunted by that figure, since it's down 5.2 points since May. The Blue Dot pollsters say the strong reception to a third term indicates a JLP that has consolidated support and is now benefiting from a decisive shift in public sentiment. This shift is being reported on the day the security forces and special service electors are casting their ballots, and just 4 days out from the ultimate political showdown between Holness's JLP and Golding's PNP. Earlier this year, this reporter told you to buy yai pudong, cause I know nothing did I go, or something did I come. You may take those eyes out of storage. The hour draws nigh. The Jamaican people will soon return their final verdict on this business of a third term. The nationwide Blue Dot polls were conducted between August 19 and 27. The margin of error is plus or minus 2.5%. Ricardo Brooks for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, support for a third term for Andrew Holness is strongest in the parishes of Manchester, Portland and Trelawney, where more than 60% of respondents say they're prepared to stick with the JLP. In Manchester and Trelawney, the support is as high as 70%. Clarendon is also showing strong support for a third term, with 57% of respondents in the parish saying yes. Kingston and St. Andrew also prepared to return Holness to office, with 56% saying yes. The Labourites have work to do in St. Mary, Hanover and St. Anne, where majorities say no to the prospect of a third term. Those were the only three parishes to return majorities against a third term for the Holness administration. The parish of Westmoreland was split evenly on the question.
Operations at several government-run departments and agencies were crippled today by bomb threats. Tax offices across the island closed at 2 this afternoon following the string of bomb threats targeting government buildings and state-run entities earlier today. Tax Administration Jamaica said the move was a precaution to ensure the safety of its stakeholders. Shaloy Smichael has our story.
The TAJ was one of several entities which received threatening emails warning that powerful bombs had been placed inside the building. The Jamaica Fire Brigade says it received reports of a dozen similar threats across Kingston, Manchester, Portland, and St. Anne. The locations included the National Housing Trust's head office in New Kingston, the New Kingston Business Centre, and the Hagley Park Road offices of the local government ministry in St. Andrew. The St. Andrew headquarters of the Passport Immigration and Citizenship Agency, PICA, and its satellite office in Manchester were also targeted. At the PICA head office, where operations closed around 11 this morning, a customer who gave his name as Peter said the disruption put his business in jeopardy.
I'm a fish them, I run off of ice. Been there since morning, and you don't feel bad about it. I'm not gonna lie. I should have gone and put ice on the fish, and I can't afford to make the appointment miss me, because I don't know when I get the next appointment to come back for the passport. Them have to clear out, and police have to search it and whatever. And so some of them gone back in, but them don't finalize it yet for we, the customer, to come back in.
Emergency services ordered several offices and complexes evacuated amid the threats. And in the busy business districts of St. Andrew, mid-morning traffic slowed to a crawl. By afternoon, a fresh threat had emerged in Port Antonio, Portland. The bomb threats came as members of the security forces and election day workers were casting their ballots as a part of the September 3 general election. The country's main political parties have clashed over allegations from the JLP that the threats were orchestrated by elements in the PNP. Shaloy Smichael for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, private sector leaders are calling on the security forces to put measures in place to prevent or respond to similar scare tactics on Election Day. The call was made in a joint statement this afternoon by the leaders of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, and the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica. They're also calling for swift action to identify those behind the hoaxes. Metri Siaga is president of the PSOJ.
The private sector is concerned about the bomb threats that were perpetrated today, especially as it disrupted people going about their daily business. It did disrupt some workplaces, and most importantly on a day that election workers and the police force are scheduled to vote. So I hope that the police will find out the perpetrators and make sure that the full force of the law comes down on them. It's really ridiculous at this stage that people are playing tricks of this nature, and we hope it doesn't happen again.
Metri Siaga. The JMEA, JCC, and PSOJ criticized the hoaxes as undermining the democratic process. The leaders added that any attempt to erode democracy threatens the progress and stability of the country. And the Security Ministry, on the advice of the police, has since given the all-clear for government buildings that were affected by today's threats.
The People's National Party, PNP, has changed the proposed funding model for its promised increase of the income tax threshold to $3.5 million. PNP spokesman on finance Julian Robinson now says the increase will be funded through adjusting the country's primary surplus target. The original plan was to fund the promise from what the PNP described as organic growth. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
News coming from the country's Independent Fiscal Commission is that based on the country's adjustments in the system of national accounts, Jamaica's debt to GDP has been revised downwards from 68% to 62%. According to Fiscal Commissioner Courtney Williams, this means the country could potentially reach its 60% of GDP target by the end of the current fiscal year. According to Julian Robinson, once the target is met, the country will no longer need to run the current primary surplus of 6% of GDP. This, he says, frees up much needed fiscal space.
Based on the projected down payment in debt, we will get to the 60% target by the end of this fiscal year, which is March 31st, 2026. What that does for the economy is that it frees up fiscal space for us to spend resources in critical areas that we deem to be priorities. Our calculation is that hitting the target of 60% frees up approximately $70 billion. Which is more than enough to allow us to implement the increase in the threshold.
Robinson says despite the intention to lower the surplus target, the PNP remains committed to fiscal responsibility. Independent economists have suggested increasing the income tax threshold to $3.5 million would cost the country as much as $70 billion in revenue. Just 4 days ago, after Mark Golding announced the promise to increase the threshold, Mr. Robinson suggested the commitment would be funded through the natural growth in the economy and the $140 billion reaped in additional revenues over the next 3 financial years.
Now, questions have been asked about how will we fund these commitments. In the current fiscal policy paper, which is a document that accompanies the budget and it's tabled in March, the government's own projections for the next 3 years is that we will have an increase in government revenues of $140 billion over a 3-year period. And that is based on their projection of a growth rate of just 1%. But we intend to grow the economy by more than 1%. But this $140 billion is their projection. This promise also comes just months after Mr. Golding himself suggested a further increase in the threshold should not be a priority due to its limited impact.
I think that we're on a trajectory now that we will get to that target in due course. It's all subject to fiscal space being available. But I think the point to make is that, I don't think that is the priority at this time, because you're talking about 200,000 people benefiting from that, whereas you have a lot of other people who do not benefit from that. And so if you're going to be doing tax relief and tax reforms, I think you have to balance that as well.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
The governing Jamaica Labour Party is taking the opposition PNP to task for what it says are repeated false claims made by Mark Golding in Thursday night's leadership debate. One such issue is the matter of 28 alleged bank accounts. PNP President Mark Golding cited the incorrect figure in his attacks on Dr. Holness, but a strident Holness asserted that the allegations were false. The JLP is also rejecting the allegation. It's blasting Golding and the PNP for what it describes as the chronic habit of making bold statements that are misleading, completely false, or both. Camilla Johnson-Smith chairs the JLP's campaign, or rather she chairs the Achievements Committee.
Not only did Mr. Golding make false statements without any regard for the truth, but he also displayed truly hypocritical conduct when he described salary increases as unconscionable, knowing fully well that he had accepted his own increase while the Prime Minister had declined. Mr. Golding also sought to drag the Prime Minister's name through the mud for good faith investments in the same way undertaken by many Jamaicans, yet he was stumped when reminded that the PNP itself had already admitted to receiving $1 million United States dollars from Olint.
That's Kamina Johnson-Smith. She's a member of the JLP's campaign committee.
In the race to 32, facts matter.
Did you know that only 3 constituencies saw voter turnout of 50% or more in the 2020 general election? Yes, that's a fact. The general election of September 3, 2020, held amid the COVID pandemic, saw a record low voter turnout of 37.85%. Only in Southwest St. Elizabeth, 52.15%, Southeast St. Elizabeth, 50.53%, and Southeast St. Mary, 50.38%, did voter turnout exceed the 50% mark.
This nationwide Did You Know fact is part of our coverage for the race to 32 as we preview the next general election.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
It's IQ Optical's sizzling summer sale. For this month only, get 50% off lenses when you purchase a frame. Kids get free lenses with a purchase of a frame. Make the intelligent choice with IQ Optical. Conditions apply. The time by IQ Optical is...
It's 16 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is...
It's 32 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
The wait is over. Spark is coming to you. Across Jamaica, we'll be fixing 10 roads per constituency. Over 100 roads will be fixed by September and 630 roads overall. This is real action, real improvement, real results. Every Jamaican deserves safer, stronger roads. Spark, the next chapter in Jamaica's infrastructure development.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
On election day, put your X beside the bell and vote for a reduction in income tax to a base rate of 15%, an affordable and safe rural school bus system which will be free from September to October. Vote for a JUTC system which is more accessible and will be free for students for the first 2 months of the school year. Vote for senior citizens who earn $6 million or less, paying no income tax on their earnings or pension. Put your X beside the bell and vote for the Jamaica Labour Party, which has been tough on crime and will continue the over 40% reduction in murders.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Home is closer than you think when you save towards your dream home with the Homeowners Savings Plan, or HOSP, from CIBC Caribbean. With HOSP, you unlock preferential interest rates to earn more interest on your savings and pay less with a discounted mortgage rate. You can even borrow up to an additional US $5,000 or its equivalent to help you with your closing costs. Get home faster when you save the HOSP way with CIBC.
Continuing the news, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has clarified that he wants to see the country have its own final local appellate court. The clarification came at Thursday night's leadership debate against Mark Golding. Dr. Holness says ultimately it is a matter for the Jamaican people to decide. Khaleesi Wright tells us more.
The Prime Minister has been repeatedly called upon to declare his position on Jamaica's final appellate court. On Thursday, Dr. Holness finally made it clear he wants to see justice confined to local shores.
My position is that Jamaica should have its own local court as its final appellate court. But I also do respect the Caribbean Court of Justice, of which we are a part of its original jurisdiction. I will say, however, that on a matter as important as this, that forms the architecture of our nation, the people must be consulted. And that is why I put in place a process that would begin these consultations in a practical and phased basis, a process which has been thwarted by the opposition.
The Prime Minister is referencing the work of the Constitutional Reform Committee and the subsequent Joint Select Committee reviewing the Constitutional Reform Bill. The opposition has decided to boycott the committee's sittings. Despite the opposition's withdrawal, the Select Committee had continued its work up to the dissolution of Parliament. But there are questions about how the bill would move forward in the face of the opposition's boycott. The bill would require the vote of at least one opposition senator. Dr. Holness slammed the PMP president's behavior, questioning their commitment to Jamaica's democracy.
The leader of the opposition raises questions about democracy. On one hand, he does not want to consult. He wants the government to just act without consulting with the people, but then turns around and says that we are the ones undermining democracy. The leader of the opposition must be consistent. Democracy requires us to consult the people on these critical matters.
But Mr. Golding maintained that a referendum is not required to sever Jamaica's ties to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council and adopt the Caribbean Court of Justice.
We want to follow the Constitution, and the Constitution has been ruled by the Privy Council as the highest court as not requiring a referendum for the decision as to whether or not the CCJ should become the final court replacing the Privy Council. And that is what we think ought to be done. No other country that has moved away from the Privy Council has had a referendum to do so, and there are good reasons for that.
Khaleesi Wright for Nationwide News.
The Amber Group has taken over operations of the Sportsmax studio from Digicel to launch Revo TV. Revo TV is a 24/7 AI digital television channel delivering non-stop world-class coverage of news, business, sports, and entertainment. The platform will be powered by Nationwide News. Revo TV will officially go live on Wednesday, September 3, 2025, with live coverage of Jamaica's 19th general election led by Cliff Hughes and George Davis. Revo TV will launch in tandem with Revo News AI. The platform allows audiences to interact directly with news content through an AI-powered assistant in Cliff Hughes' voice. Revo TV will be available 24/7 through Revo News AI web platform and Revo News mobile apps on Android and iOS. Founder of the Amber Group, Ambassador Dushant Savadia, says the platforms will allow Jamaicans to engage with content in ways that create a dynamic two-way relationship with their news. CEO of Nationwide News, Cliff Hughes, has labeled the partnership as the perfect marriage.
What we have successfully done here with Amber plus the telecommunications infrastructure that Sportsmax is, we have essentially joined forces where we take over that telecommunications infrastructure. Now we have the perfect marriage. Software communications technologies. We have developed a modern artificial intelligence-driven app and website which offers us limitless opportunities. Wherever you are in the world, you can now access our content.
Cliff Hughes, CEO of Nationwide News.
This is a Nationwide Election Nugget.
The JLP is a candidate in Southeast St. Elizabeth, Franklin Witter, is on the verge of history as he gets set to face the electorate on September 3 in the general election. If victorious on election day, Witter will become the first Labourite to win 3 consecutive elections in the Weathervane seat. For the record, Witter is already a 3-time winner in Southeast St. Elizabeth, having vanquished his rivals in the 2007, 2016 and 2020 elections. He came up short against the PNP's Richard Parchment in 2011, thus breaking his consecutive win sequence. 2 men have won 3 straight in Southeast St. Elizabeth before. The PNP's B.V. Coke in 1959, 1962 and 1967, and another comrade, Derek Rochester, in 1989, 1993 and 1997.
That was a nationwide election nugget.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute. An Irish missionary and a 3-year-old child are among 8 people who have been freed in Haiti by kidnappers after being held for almost a month. The kidnapping followed an attack by gunmen on an orphanage on August 3. The Irish missionary is a director of a special needs program for children and adults at the orphanage. The facility cares for more than 240 children. On Thursday, the U.S. government said that it is seeking UN authorization for a new gang suppression force to help tackle violence in Haiti.
The Trump administration has moved to cut $5 billion in foreign aid that was already allocated by Congress earlier this year. The decision announced on Friday is aimed at cutting billions in programs, including the funding of peacekeeping operations abroad. It's a move which has not been attempted in nearly 50 years. The budgetary tactic is likely to face legal challenges as it effectively bypasses the legislative branch to directly cut spending.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, a clear majority of Jamaicans now say the Andrew Holness-led Jamaica Labour Party deserves a 3rd term in government.
Manchester, Portland, and Trelawney are the parishes with the highest level of support for a 3rd term for the JLP.
Operations at several government-run departments and agencies were crippled today by bomb threats.
PNP has changed the proposed funding model for its promised increase of the income tax threshold to $3.5 million.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
Listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. Join us shortly for the live show, the reveal show of the party standings.
Looking for superior quality transportation from an international award-winning provider? Well, look no further. Choose Island Car Rentals, Jamaica's leading car rental company, setting the standard for ground transportation in Jamaica. For over 50 years, Island Car Rentals has been your trusted partner for reliable, top-quality vehicles. But we're more than just a car rental company. Need an airport transfer at any hour? Heading out of town and want to travel in style with a private chauffeur? Need a truck to rent for business or personal use? Or maybe you need a customized shuttle or tour for a large or a small group? Whatever your transportation need, Island Car Rentals has you covered. Call us today at 876-926-8012 or 876-929-5875 or visit www.islandcarrentals.com to book your next trip. Because Island people take better care of you.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Olympique Marseille striker Mason Greenwood has declined an invitation to represent Jamaica despite obtaining the relevant document. The 23-year-old former Manchester United star was invited by national coach Steve McLaren for the opening 2 games in the CONCACAF Final Round World Cup qualifiers away to Bermuda on September 5 and 4 days later right here in Kingston against Trinidad and Tobago. The games would have been Greenwood's first for the country following a long and exhaustive period of trying to obtain his Jamaican passport, which he now has.
For Mason Greenwood, finally acquired his passport. A lot of work was done behind the scenes from the likes of Simon and other people in the government as well. We acquired a passport and we expected him to be coming to this camp, but on a conversation with his family, he's not going to commit at this time to anybody.
McLaren admits that the Federation is disappointed by Greenwood's decision, but they're hoping to convince him to join in the October window. And injury has robbed Jamaica of several key players ahead of the start of their crucial World Cup qualifiers. Coach Steve McLaren outlined the gravity of the situation at a presser this morning at the JFF headquarters in New Kingston, where the squad was announced. Philadelphia Union goalkeeper Andre Blake, AS Roma on-loan winger Leon Bailey, and Coventry City's Joey Lottebedair are some of the key names missing through injury. And finally, in sports at this time, coach of the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons CPL franchise Paul Nixon has accused Cricket West Indies of being, quote, disrespectful and unprofessional. Nixon's rant came as a result of all-rounder Justin Greaves' unavailability to play due to injury. Greaves has not played in any of the Caribbean Premier League matches to date and has not played any cricket since the West Indies series win against Pakistan at the Brian Lara Cricket Stadium a little over 2 weeks ago. Nixon says he was disappointed that they have had no communication with Cricket West Indies, that Greaves came to them injured and that they only found out just before a game. He said for him that was a bit unprofessional and disrespectful. However, former TNT Red Force head coach David Furlong has a different view. He has disagreed with Nixon. He said he did not put the responsibility on the regional body to inform the franchise of the cricketers' availability. Furlong says it's up to the player, if he is injured, to say so. He says most players have agents who organize the day-to-day business for the players, including informing teams of their availabilities. And that will do it for sports.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Cubby's Baby Wipes is ideal for your baby's delicate skin, infused with vitamin E and aloe vera, and available for home or on the go. The time by Cubby's Baby Wipes is...
It's 5:31.
From Kingston to the world, from Montego Bay to new adventures, and from Ocherias to endless possibilities. Wherever you're headed, we will proudly take you there. Jamaica's airport, your global gateway. The temperature brought to you by the Airports Authority of Jamaica is
32 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's the same in the western city, Montego Bay.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
So we say vote for Labour. Vote for Labour. To Jamaica. We say vote for Labour.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
A+ for back to school? Yep, you can score that. Just grab an A+ back to school loan from Access Financial. Why? Reduced interest rates, duh. Plus, you could win your loan interest free.
That's right. Apply for an A+ back to school loan and you could be entered to win your loan interest free in the Lucky Loans promotion.
From school fees to footwear, uniforms to book lists, we've got you covered.
For back to school, the only thing you need is a reduced rate loan from Access Financial's A+ back to school promotion. Conditions apply.
Spring into style with Unique Living. Upgrade your home with our extensive range of products. Get sleek shower panels, stylish vanities, LED and non-LED mirrors, plus kitchen sinks, closet solutions, ceiling fans, and more. Available in various finishes and sizes. Visit shop number 630 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10. Call 876-755-3661 or visit our website at www.uniquelivingja.com. Don't wait to spring into style with Unique Living.
GPS. Keep it cool, keep it cool. Summertime hot, but we have all the tools. Keep it cool, keep it cool.
No ways to see it, you just have to choose. Stay out of the fridge, just use a igloo. Remember your Kisco ice and the juice.
The fan AC combo, yeah, I hit that. AC for a bit, then a fan after that. Keep it cool, keep it cool.
This summer JPS have all the tools.
Keep you cool with JPS. Download the JPS app today.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
It's action time when Daryl and Anne-Marie Vaz host the Jamaica Labour Party Portland Parish meeting this Saturday at Port Antonio Square, 5 p.m. Come hear from JLP champions. Main address comes from Prime Minister and Party Leader, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. That's Portland Parish meeting this Saturday, Port Antonio Square, 5 p.m. Daryl and Anne-Marie Vaz doing more for you on Election Day. Put your ex beside the bell. We choose Jamaica. Action. See you there.
Proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Stay ahead in your career with UWI-STAR, the short-term advancement resource center. Our programs are designed to support your professional growth. Join our community of professionals and take the next step in your career. Visit our website, www.mona.uwi.edu/short-courses to learn more about the continuing professional education programs of UWI-STAR.
All registered electors are allowed time off to vote on election day. Under the law, every employer shall permit employees to be absent from work on polling day for 3 hours in addition to the normal lunch hour. This does not apply to employees who begin work at 10 a.m. or after or end work at 2 p.m. or earlier. Remember, time off to vote on election day is your right. That was an important announcement from the Electoral Commission of Jamaica.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
On election day, put your X beside the bell and vote for a reduction in income tax to a base rate of 15%, an affordable and safe rural school bus system which will be free from September to October. Vote for a JUTC system which is more accessible and will be free for students for the first 2 months of the school year. Vote for senior citizens who earn $6 million or less, paying no income tax on their earnings or pension. Put your X beside the bell and vote for the Jamaica Labour Party, which has been tough on crime and will continue the over 40% reduction in murders.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Is your money idling when it could be thriving? With CIBC Caribbean's fixed deposit offering, you can take charge of your cash. With 50,000 Jamaican to start, choose terms from 30 days to 2 years. Lock in your funds and enjoy premium rates guaranteed to grow your wealth. Whether you're eyeing short or long-term gains, our fixed deposit account puts you firmly in control of your money. Now is the time to open a CIBC fixed deposit account and start earning more today. CIBC, ambitions made real.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
It's the most important race of the last 5 years. The real big ticket moment in Jamaica for 2025. The PNP, JLP, JPP, and Independents all line up here for a titanic clash. And after months of preparation, it all comes down to this.
On your marks. Set. Oh, clean start from the orange and the green. The JPP and Independents are closing in, but this race is between the Comrades and the Labour Right. Comrades, Labour Right, Comrades, Labour Right.
The Race to 32, September 3, 2025.
On Revo TV.
Good afternoon and welcome to a special edition of Nationwide at 5, Election 2025, the Race to 32. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Good afternoon, Ricardo.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am good. Looking forward to next Wednesday.
Okay.
You not?
I am. Plan to vote first, early?
Yes. Okay. I think I'll vote first in the morning, then head down to the office, because when you reach the office, that's it for until about midnight, 1 o'clock the following morning. It's a marathon. We know you have to go sleep in between.
Absolutely. Today we'll reveal the findings of the three most important questions asked by our Blue Dot pollsters when they went into the field to canvass the views of Jamaicans on a range of political issues. The nationwide Blue Dot polls were conducted among 1,511 registered voters from August 19 to 27.
It has a marginal error of plus or minus 2.5%. Since this morning, we have been presenting the findings and questions, including Jamaicans' views on Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness and Opposition Leader Mark Golding, as well as the PNP and JLP. Today, we have invited our Blue Dot data scientists to share with us the findings on three key questions.
Based on what they have seen and heard, which political party do Jamaicans think is best suited to lead the country?
Polling of weather vane seats, Southwest St. Elizabeth, Southeast St. Elizabeth, and Western St. Mary.
Which party Jamaicans would vote for if general elections were held today?
We have also invited a panel of guests to provide their interpretation of the numbers. We invited the PNP to send a representative to participate in the discussions, but they declined.
Of course, we want to hear from you, so join the conversation on our YouTube platform. That's Nationwide 90FM Live 2. You can also use the hashtag NNNBlueDotPolls on X and Instagram.
We will be monitoring the comments and pose some of your questions to members of our panel. We want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Total Tools Jamaica. That's Total Tools Jamaica. The nationwide Blue Dot polls were powered by Total Tools Jamaica. Total Tools Jamaica. Every tool, every trade.
And we should tell you, the poll results and views do not represent those of Blue Dot Insights or any of its employees. We have with us, I think I can fairly say, our favorite Blue Dot employee, Chief Consumer Insights Officer at Blue Dot, Janae Stevens-Taylor. Hello, Janae.
Good afternoon, Ricardo. Good afternoon, Cliff. Good afternoon to your listeners and your online viewers. And I will take that. Thank you very much.
And as usual, we're starting with the scientific rigor. How Blue Dot goes about data collection and management of the data before we get to the first question.
Okay, no problem. So the objective here is for us to get a snapshot of the country. Of course, it's not practical for us to walk around and talk to every single person, but we do want to get a fairly good idea of what is happening in each constituency, not just in select areas. And so we start that with designing the sample. How do we do that? We look at, based on the information put out by the national authorities, the number of registered voters in each constituency and in each division. And then we design our sample to mirror that. So for example, if we are told, if the numbers indicate that 2% of the voting public lives in a particular constituency, then they account for 2% of our sample. Going into said constituency, if we are told that 30% of that constituency is from this particular division, then 30% of the total assigned in our sample to that constituency is drawn from that division. So the goal is to ensure that from a numerical standpoint, we have mirrored the distribution of registered voters at the divisional level and at the constituency level, and then that gets scaled up to the parish level.
Pause for a cause. All right. So let's use West Kingston. 2% of, let's say, the Tivoli Gardens division. Yeah. How do you ensure that 2% is not just 2% all labor rights?
All right. So this is where we call upon random sampling, right? Which means you design how you select the person and you remove the interviewer's ability to say, you know what, you're at home and you're available, so I'm going to talk to you, or I'm only going to work in this particular area.
So like me, I couldn't just sit down and say, Grandma, come answer the question.
That is correct. So when we go into these enumeration districts within the divisions, there is a central point that is identified. It is usually a health center, a school, a church, something that is well known and well understood as a central part of that particular community. And then they are instructed to walk a particular path. So we might say walk left, walk right, and you must always walk left. You must always turn left. Then depending on the density, meaning how close together the houses are, we will assign what we call a sampling interval. So it could be 2, which means you go to every other house, right? Or it could be 5, which means you go to every 5th house. And that's when the houses are very close together. Sometimes you have multiple, what they call dwellings on one piece of property behind one gate. And so we have to set the sample interval to reflect that. Likewise, in rural areas, or not likewise, differently, in the rural areas where the houses tend to be spread much further apart, sometimes it's go to every house. So that has to be guided by the profile of the area that we are in. But once that sample interval is set, if you go to this house and you are directed to go to every 3rd house, you count 1, 2, 3, you go to that house. If the person is not there, okay, move on, 1, 2, 3. And so there is no, okay, but the person next door is there, let's just go right there. No, that is not the 3rd house. You cannot approach that house.
Pause for another cause. So you say the data collectors have to go left, they have to go right, they have to take every other house. How do you know that they do that?
GPS tracking is attached to all of our surveys. So that is part of our quality control. As soon as you start the survey, it takes the GPS point at which you are standing. And so if you are interviewing someone at their gate, it should pick up the GPS signal from where you are standing, right? And we can map that out very clearly. And we can also do what we call geofencing. So if you are assigned a particular constituency to work in, and we can assign the boundaries of that constituency. You cannot start a survey. If the GPS picks up that you are outside of those boundaries, it will flag it. So you can't interview someone outside of the boundaries that we have placed for that particular interview if they're assigned to a particular area.
One more pause for another cause.
All right.
Why I can't just flit out myself. So you say, I must go to East Rural St. Andrew. I will go to East Rural St. Andrew, stand in the middle of the Dallas division, and just flit out myself.
All right. So we also do audio recording. The interviewers do not know what question triggers the audio recording. And it records for a specified number of questions. And what we're listening for is to hear the interviewer asking the question and hear a different voice answering the question. We also check to see that what the person has said is in fact what the interviewer recorded on the survey. So that's how we know there is a conversation happening. And it has to be a different voice. Because of course we know they will sit down and you and your brother walk right here, and you talk to the same person all the time. But that's where we have to sit and listen to those interviews and ensure that we're hearing different people. We're supposed to be hearing different genders. If you're talking to men all the time, those kinds of things tend to be red flags. You'll get flagged. We'll call the people back to ensure that they actually participated in a survey. So there has to be a valid phone number. All of that is included in ensuring that people are not sitting under the mango tree filling out the survey themselves.
When were these polls conducted?
These polls were conducted, we started the day after nomination day, so the 19th of August, and we were in the field up until 2 days ago. On the Wednesday
27th?
Was the 27th.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you interviewed? Your sample size?
Sample size 1,511. We went in the field to do a 1,500 person sample. We ended up doing 1,511.
And your margin of error?
2.5%.
Good. All right, so you have set the scene for us, Janae.
Yes.
We're going to take a break now and come back with the results.
Clear your barrels and personal shipments with ease and convenience. Request a customs contactless clearance today through CCP at jca.gov.jm. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
12 minutes to 6.
Savor the flavor and win with Bird Shack Fried Chicken Summer Vibes promotion. Spend $1,000 or more at any store this August and win weekly prizes of JBL speakers or earbuds, plus a grand prize of a 50-inch smart TV. Bird Shack Fried Chicken. Real flavor, real vibes.
The temperature brought to you by Bird Shack Fried Chicken is
31 degrees Celsius here in Kingston, 32 out west in Montego Bay.
The following is a paid announcement by Young Jamaica. Whenever you hear the grand promises from the PNP, remember this confession from their spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson.
We don't explain limitations.
when we're campaigning. We don't. None of us do because we want votes.
Don't believe them. Don't trust them. They are desperate and they're only trying to trick you.
Everything I grow, and you lead out, them I watch you show. The vision real, the people want more.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by Young Jamaica.
Paying bills just got easier. With Evolve Bill Pay, the new bill payment service by Supreme Ventures, you can settle your light, water, telephone, and internet bills at over 180 Supreme Ventures locations island-wide, right where you live and shop. Pay, play, and go with Evolve Bill Pay. Evolve Bill Pay. Fast, easy, right round the corner.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jack on my figure, dig the wall.
Our total tools.
Lead back a figure, trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand.
Total tools.
We rent them, sell them, and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, a Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option. Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slive Road, Kingston. And lot C6 Jacksaw, Sentence Bay. Call us today.
Looking for superior quality transportation from an international award-winning provider? Well, look no further. Choose Island Car Rentals, Jamaica's leading car rental company, setting the standard for quality transportation in Jamaica. For over 50 years, Island Car Rentals has been your trusted partner for reliable, top-quality vehicles. But we're more than just a car rental company. Need an airport transfer at any hour? Heading out of town and want to travel in style with a private chauffeur? Need a truck to rent for business or personal use? Or maybe you need a customized shuttle or tour for a large or a small group. Whatever your transportation need, Island Car Rentals has you covered. Call us today at 876-926-8012 or 876-929-5875 or visit www.islandcarrentals.com to book your next trip. Because Island people take better care of you.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Our senior citizens have given their service. Now it is time to give back even more. Under the Jamaica Labour Party administration, senior citizens 65 years and older earning $6 million or less, including their pension, will pay absolutely no income tax. The Jamaica Labour Party is doing more for you. On election day, put your X beside the bell.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Eight minutes going up to 6 o'clock. It's a special edition of Nationwide at 5 this evening. We go through until 8. We are unveiling the last Blue Dot polls sponsored by Total Tools Jamaica just before the general elections of next Wednesday. This is the last polls you'll hear before the election day. We have with us Chief Insights Officer at Blue Dot, Jenny Stevens-Taylor. Jenny, which is the first question you have for us?
The first question I have reads, based on what you've seen or heard of the plans from both political parties, who do you think is best suited to lead the country? And based on the results we have, Jamaicans are more confident in the plans and proposals put forward by the Holness-led administration by a notable 19 points. 49% of registered voters polled indicated that they think the Holness-led JLP is better suited to continue to lead the country versus only 30% who held the same view of a change of government, thinking that Golding and his administration would be better suited to lead. 15% of registered voters are unsure, and 6% indicated neither of the two leading contenders are well suited.
First time you're asking this question?
First time we are asking it in this way. We typically ask a question, who do you think is best suited to address the nation's problems? Who do you think is better suited to govern? That sort of thing. But now the opinion that we ask them to put forward is based on the campaigning, the messaging that has been put out into the public space. So having heard, having seen news articles and so forth about these plans and proposals, who has the better way forward, and almost 1 in 2 Jamaicans, 49%, saying, let us continue down the path with the wholeness-led administration.
And 30% saying the
Compared to 30% saying, no, let's switch. We're ready for Golding to lead.
That's an interesting data point because it would have followed a crisscrossing of the country, and I was clear to drill down the dates with you, Jenny, because this would have followed a crisscrossing of the country by the People's National Party. By that point, they would have covered probably 12 or 11 parishes in their parish rallies. They would have had 2, I think, bus tours across the country, and sending out their message, giving their message directly to the Jamaican people. And you're saying, despite that, these poll findings are suggesting, because at that point, we must remind the listeners, the JLP had not yet put out a manifesto. I think by then it would have put out the achievements document.
Yes.
But it had not yet put out a manifesto. And it had not yet kicked in to a high gear of campaigning. The People's National Party had been at it for quite some time. So that, I think, is instructive.
Yeah.
What was the message that was being delivered on the road?
Yeah. So let us get some reactions from our panelists. Yes. And which of them? We have a team of panelists here. We have a senior member of the JLP's Communications Task Force, Marlon Morgan, political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang, an undergraduate student of political science and economics at Vassar College in New York in the United States, Ronaldino McLean, and political commentator Dr. Nadine Spence as well. Yes, we are not quite ready with that link yet, so let's move on to your next question.
Well, let's look at how this question breaks out, right? So starting first with gender. So both genders, we're seeing that 49%. They're in agreement. Men and women, let us continue with the JLP government. But Golding does have a stronger footing among men, which is not uncommon when we have done these polls. This has been a trend. Typically, we see the women in favor of wholeness, certainly in terms of favorability and those types of questions, suitability to lead and govern and handle Jamaica's problems. This time around, we're seeing stronger alignment between men and women around wholeness, but still men having a stronger opinion or more confidence in Golding going
So the gender
forward.
gap is closing.
The gender gap is closing around wholeness. There's still somewhat of a disparity by as much as 5 points between men and women in terms of their confidence in Golding and his ability to lead with the proposals that have been put to the table so far. All right. So now looking at age, and this is where it gets interesting, because ordinarily when we look at age-related breakouts, the seniors tend to be in favor of the PNP or in favor of Golding, depending on the nature of the question that is being asked. For the first time in quite some time, certainly in as far back as I can remember presenting these numbers, that is not the case. Across all segments, wholeness has the edge. It is
all age groups.
All age groups. So let me read out the numbers for those who are listening, right?
And if you're on our YouTube channel, you can see the numbers on our screen there. If you are, you can go across to the Nationwide 90 FM YouTube channel. Go ahead.
All right, so 18 to 24, 45% in favor of wholeness in terms of suitability compared to 27% for Golding. That's 18 to 24. 25 to 34, 47% in favor of wholeness compared to Golding's 25%. 35 to 44-year-olds, 49% of them would like to continue with the programs and policies of the Wholeness Administration. 27% are asking for a change. 45 to 54-year-olds, that number reaches 52% for wholeness compared to 29% for Golding. By the time we get to 55 to 64-year-olds, that number peaks at 53% for wholeness compared to 33% for Golding. And for the 65 plus, your seniors, 46% in favor of Wholeness's plans, compared to 35% in favor of Golding's proposals.
That's the closest Golding comes in the demographic groups.
That is correct. So he still has the strongest footing amongst the seniors, but it is usually ahead of Wholeness, and that is not the case for the first time in a long time.
What do you make of this?
I will leave you and your commentators to try to figure that out.
Let me ask you this then, Jenny. You usually sample political allegiance, whether they're supporters of the two main political parties. Did you get a sense of how many of those across those age groups are independent voters?
So the persons who identify as, we're not getting as many of the what we call politically unaffiliated registering their opinions in our polls this time around. They're opting out of participating. We can't make people participate in polls, right? So they're not as enthused about the process. This poll was a lot of people who've made up their minds and they're ready to vote. Earlier, we would have reported in one of your newscasts, 65% of the people that we speak to say, whether they're going to do it or not is another thing, but they say that they intend to vote, that they intend to show up on September 3rd and cast their vote. So it's really that enthusiasm that we're seeing coming through and supporters who are choosing a side one way or the other, and you're not really getting as much feedback from the unaffiliated as we would get when we do polls in ordinary time outside of election season.
Well, Nadine Spence, Dr. Nadine Spence and Kevin Abraham Chang are ready. Good afternoon. It's now good evening. Good evening, Kevin. Good evening, Nadine.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Good. First of all, the numbers, the first set of numbers we have revealed, beginning with you, Dr. Spence. Age demographic groups on the best suited to lead are now a consensus among all the demographic groups from 18 to 24 right up to over 65, saying Wholeness and the Labour Party.
It's very, very telling, I think, and it's also very interesting that I have been following the Blue Dot polls from about, 2016? Cliffs, when you
2020.
2020. And I think it's the first that I am seeing across all age groups a preference for Andrew Holness's JLP. I think there was always a kind of agreement that the older voters, a kind of, a revelation and a reality where older voters would have preferred the PNP, but we are seeing that has changed dramatically. I note as well that Wholeness's highest support is in the 55 to 64 age group. I'm not quite sure what to make of that, but he also has, I think because these people can relate to him very well in terms of his own age as well. And perhaps his messaging is coming across clearer and more decisive with people in the 45 to 64 age group. I don't know if there are some of the policies of the JLP is impacting this, because we've seen that the JLP has really gone out for older people and pension and making sure pensions are safer, and that kind of a reality has emerged in the JLP in its policy response. So I'm not sure, but I think that there is here a greater connect with the Prime Minister in the age group 45 to 64.
Kevin, your perspective on this?
Nadine is right. Generally assume, or it's been found to be, that Wholeness is stronger with the young folks, Wholeness and the JLP, while Golding and the PNP is stronger with the older folks. But clearly this poll shows a lot of changes from the last one and previously. So that's one of the changes we have seen, that maybe the older folks are going for stability and continuity. As you get older, you're more conservative, you don't want changes. So maybe that may account for it, that Andrew Holness is seen as a safe pair of hands.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kevin. Nadine, you're going to be hearing much more from Kevin and Nadine. We're going to take our next break, and then when we come back, what's the next question for us, Janae?
Well, before we move to the next question, I think it's important for us to look at this question by parish.
Oh.
So I certainly want to show you that. And
Okay.
then we know we have the mega question, right?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
The following is a paid announcement by Young Jamaica. Whenever you hear the grand promises from the PNP, remember this confession from their spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson.
We don't explain limitations when we campaign, we don't. None of us do, because we want votes.
Don't believe them. Don't trust them. They are desperate and they're only trying to trick you.
Everything I grow, and you a lead out, them a watch you show. The vision real, the people want more.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by Young Jamaica.
Looking for a jam or preserve to fill your sweet cravings, but worried about calories or high sugar content? Well, look no further. Try Smucker's sugar-free fruit jams and preserves with so many tasty flavors to choose from. Grape jam, strawberry, red raspberry, blueberry preserves, and orange marmalade. With a name like Smucker's, it must be good. Find them at retail outlets island-wide. Distributed by Chassis Ramson.
Getting ready for school is as easy as KB. Shop at Kingston Bookshop between July 14 to September 6, 2025 for your chance to win big in our back-to-school promotion. Spend just $5,000 before GCT, shop online or in-store, and you could win $150,000 in cash, an HP laptop, or a Samsung Galaxy Tab A9. It's back to school the easy way, only at KB. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Want to reduce your high electricity bills? Then Peak Energy has the solution for you. From grid-tied to hybrid solar inverters with full lithium-ion battery pack. Installation and maintenance packages available. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hill, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
On election day, put your X beside the bell and vote for a reduction in income tax to a base rate of 15%, an affordable and safe rural school bus system which will be free from September to October. Vote for a JUTC system which is more accessible and will be free for students for the first 2 months of the school year. Vote for senior citizens who earn $6 million or less, paying no income tax on their earnings or pension. Put your X beside the bell and vote for the Jamaica Labour Party, which has been tough on crime and will continue the over 40% reduction in murders.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's a special edition of Nationwide at 5. We're releasing the final nationwide Blue Dot polls before the September 3 general election. My name is Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Cliff Hughes.
We have with us Chief Consumer Insights Officer at Blue Dot, Jenny Stevens-Taylor, and she's taking us through the data.
All right, so we have been looking at the question, based on what you've seen or heard of the plans from both political parties, who do you think is best suited to lead the country? A reminder to everyone that the overall results for this question favor the Holness-led administration, with 49% of Jamaicans more confident in their plans and proposals, compared to 30% who give the nod to a Golding-led government. We have looked at it by age, and we've seen some surprising shifts, certainly amongst seniors, and the analysts would have put forward their thoughts on what could be accounting for that. And before we move on from this question, we just want to look at how this breaks out across the country. So for those looking at the graphic online or elsewhere, where you see the icon colored to reflect either party, it means that is the party that is ahead, right? So what this graphic shows is who is ahead in each parish. So let's go around, starting in the east. So in St. Thomas, we have 50% of the sample indicating wholeness. So that parish there in favor of wholeness. And that pretty much continues all along the southern coast of the country. Kingston and St. Andrew, 52% in favor of wholeness. St. Catherine, 47%. Clarendon, 51%. Manchester, 64%. St. Elizabeth, 51%. Westmoreland, 46%. So that entire southern coast of the island, indicating that they are more confident in the plans and proposals that they would have seen or heard up to that point from Andrew Holness and his JLP.
Some interesting numbers there, Janae. Yeah. Westmoreland, 46%. What was the PNP number there?
I can tell you that, but I have to come out of this screen.
Okay.
So this graphic focuses on who is ahead, right? So they're ahead in Westmoreland. Hanover breaks the trend if we're going around the island, and Hanover is instead a majority in favor of switching to the plans and proposals of Golding and his team. 54% of people in Hanover indicate that based on what they've seen or heard, Golding is best suited to lead, and they're looking forward to a PNP government. We're also seeing that sentiment being reflected in St. Mary and in St. Anne, though not with as much enthusiasm as we're seeing in Hanover. St. Mary is really interesting because when we get to the weather vane seats, of which St. Mary Western is one, this is gonna turn everything upside down all over again. So you will see that in that particular constituency in St. Mary, which will point to some other challenges happening elsewhere in St. Mary, but we'll get to that.
Yes.
Right, but overall, as a parish, St. Mary is giving the nod to Golding in terms of suitability to lead. The remaining parishes, St. James and Trelawney on the north coast and Portland in the northeast, are also in favor of Golding and the JLP's proposals. Oh, sorry, Wholeness and the JLP's proposals, my goodness.
Which parish is that at 67%? Is that Trelawney?
Trelawney, and that is where the support for the JLP is highest, followed very closely by Manchester at 64%.
Manchester?
Yes.
That is interesting because we saw some polling data in the previous cycles where the PNP was dominating in Manchester.
Yes.
And the JLP was weak.
There have been quite a number of shifts in this poll compared to May, and to the point where we doubled down on our quality control, doubled down on our methodology, because when we started seeing some of these numbers, we as pollsters had to take a seat and really investigate what was happening, revisiting, taking a look at the map, ensuring we went into all the nooks and crannies, and ensuring that the results that we were seeing was not being caused by something not happening the way that it is designed to happen in terms of methodology. And we found no evidence of that. And so the numbers are what they are, and they are reflecting some surprising shifts happening in places to expect.
We have been saying it, that we're going to get some surprises on the 3rd of September because Trelawney at 67% versus St. James at 49%. And the conventional wisdom is that the JLP is strongest in St. James. But look at that in comparison to Trelawney.
Yes.
Yeah? Can you put it up back for me quickly, please? We're not quite done yet with it. And then if you look at, we spoke about Manchester, but look at Kingston and St. Andrew, 52%.
Yes.
Yeah? This is a region that the JLP suffered in the last local elections.
Yes.
Lost ground. Yeah, they're back at 52%. Yeah. And then
And that 52% in Kingston and St. Andrew will be something to watch, because that then brings into play Central Kingston. It brings in, well, probably puts out of play Eastern St. Andrew, East Rural St. Andrew, and West Rural St. Andrew.
Yes.
And those seats, those 4 seats, are going to be key on election night.
Yeah. Continue, Janae.
All right. So a couple of things to point out here. St. Mary and Portland. There's some interesting things happening there. One, there's still the highest level of uncertainty, with anywhere from 1 in 5 to about 1 in 4, a quarter of the people still saying, I'm not sure either of them are telling me what I need to be hearing to make up my mind come next Wednesday. So there's still quite a bit up for grabs in both of those parishes. And in St. Mary in particular, the constituencies within the parish are not very well aligned, right? You're seeing strong support for one party in one constituency. You go to the next constituency, it's the complete opposite. So St. Mary is shaping up to be a battleground of a parish, certainly in terms of confidence and how that translates to intent to vote, which is where we're going to go next.
But just before we go, St. Anne. That is standing out to me.
Right, and there's only a 5-point difference between the two of them in St. Anne. Which is a very small difference compared to some of the other parishes, where the differences in most other parishes are in double digits, low double digits.
Right.
In St. Anne, it's only 5%, 38 to 33.
So St. Anne is competitive.
So it is shaping up to be one of those very competitive areas. So St. Anne and St. Mary are going to be, you have to fight for it.
So, Ricardo, listeners, in St. Anne, the wisdom is, Northeast St. Anne, Shahini's old seat, supposed to be a shoo-in for Matthew.
Right.
It may not be. Same thing for Southeast St. Anne. Lisa Hannah, Foggy Mullins' old seat. That is a PNP rural heartland that the PNP barely held on to. Yeah. It may be more competitive than we think. Yeah. Southwest St. Anne, Xavier Main seat, the old Gallimore seat, strong JLP. There's a youngster there, young lady Danishka Williams up against the state minister, Xavier Main. The PNP people there telling me that Danishka is going to pull off a surprise. The Labourites say not at all. But these numbers suggest that something competitive is taking place in St. Anne.
And don't forget Crystal Lee up against Gabriel Morris
in Northwest.
And I think those are the two: Danishka, Xavier, Gabriel, and Crystal. Those are the two that I think where the real competition is.
Yes.
I don't think Matthew Samuda is in any kind of competitive fight. But
okay,
let's see.
Let us see. Continue, Janae.
All right. So you ready for your next question?
Yep.
Sure. All right. So as usual, we ask if the general election was being held today.
Oh, this is the big one.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Third term before.
If you wanted to revisit third term, we definitely
save that
can.
for last.
Save it for last. Save the good stuff for last. All right, no problem. All right. So the third term question, for those who would not have heard it in the newscast, when asked, do you think the Holness administration deserves a third term in government? 56% of the registered voters that we polled said yes. And this is important because we have asked this question, I believe, for the last 4 or 5 polls, and it has almost always been 49-51, 50-50, like very close, dead heat. People are torn about not necessarily suitability to continue, but do we want a government in office for 3 consecutive terms? If you have not done it already, can you do anything different now?
And it bears repeating that it has only happened once so far in our political history.
Correct. And so there's always that split right down the middle. This time, the pendulum has swung a little bit in favor of that third term. This is the first time that we have a majority that we can speak of and not that even split. So 56% saying yes, let us continue. Let them have a third term in government.
That is bad news for the PNP. Bad news. It means that support is consolidating around the Holness administration's case for a third term, because this has been an issue where Jamaicans have almost an instinctive, negative reaction to 3 terms.
It's taboo.
Yeah,
They
it's
treat
just
it-
taboo.
yes.
So for these numbers now, for the first time in several polls,
Yes.
to see, yes, they deserve a third term, it suggests to me that the case being made by the Labour Party, the message is getting through, that they deserve a third term.
Well, let's see if the analysts feel the same way.
Yes. Okay. Ronaldino McLean and Nadine Spence and Desmond Richards on the phone. Let me begin with you, Ronaldino, about this number for deserving a third term or not.
It's a big number. It's kind of shocking given Jamaica's history of not really giving governments third terms. And, like I set up maybe some weeks ago here, it's shocking in the context of having a post-pandemic incumbent government who has had to take a country through a pandemic and through the post-pandemic inflation shocks that have been experienced worldwide. It's kind of absurd to think that more than 50% of a voter base in that country would be supportive of retaining an incumbent government. And I think it speaks to a kind of resilience that Dr. Andrew Holness has had. He was resilient through the pandemic season when, in that 2020 period, lots of incumbent governments fell. And then certainly in the years after, we've seen incumbent governments all across the world fall as well. I'm a little bit baffled. I don't know how best to explain it.
Yeah. Nadine, how do you explain it?
I think the JLP has pushed its achievements, and not only is it an incumbent government that is seeking to be re-elected, it's a government that has been spouting its achievements and has been making sure that it says it everywhere it goes, that we have not been crippled by the pandemic. We have done well, and I think Jamaicans will remember that we at the point when we were experiencing the pandemic, we were very proud about how we were as a nation handling it. I think until we started to experience the fatigue, Jamaicans would compare themselves with their neighbors up north and say, hey, for a country our size, we're doing remarkably well. And I think people stuck with the impact of the pandemic for a very long time, and so I'm not surprised at that. And as I say, we did well through the pandemic. The government came out and even though they never communicated as well as some of us thought that they should, they made it clear that they had rebounded, that the country had recovered, that the economics were looking good. And I think over the budget debates since then have been quite dramatic in terms of their representation of how Jamaica is doing in terms of its economic health. So I think they have been hammering home the point that Jamaica has been doing well. They have been working hard, and Jonas has been working hard, and that they deserve a third term. And they have been using that phrase, the third term, consistently, so much so that it has become the most talked about thing. I think if we were to look for something that's trending on social media, perhaps hashtag third term loading would be at some points in the days that have preceded today would have been what is trending on social media.
Yeah, I wanted to add then, given that you're talking about, the JLP hammering home this message of its achievements, and, even on the issue of COVID, making clear how well we did in the context of the global village, the global economy, and so on. I think you have to also give credit then to the voters, to Jamaicans, because, being able to receive that message well, when inflation went up, in the post-pandemic years, and being able to make that kind of analysis that Jamaica fared better than many countries all around us, I think it reflects a level of maturity in the voter population, and probably a level of maturity in Jamaica that we don't see elsewhere.
I think, Cliff, let me say this quickly. One of the things I notice about Jamaicans nowadays when we talk about our country, and I'm engaging people abroad and so on, and they feel proud about some of the metrics that have defined Jamaica of late. So when Jamaicans abroad, for example, compared us to how their COVID realities were being handled in the US, they boasted about what was happening back at home.
Yeah.
Yeah? Jamaicans felt proud of Jamaica on some of these metrics.
All
and
right.
so I think some of these things we are seeing.
Let me turn to Desmond Richards now. Desmond Richards, mix it up.
Well, I am going against the Blue Dot poll findings.
Yes. I'm not surprised.
Yes, I'm going against that. My take is that the situation, the existing situation, is that all the good things that you people are talking about, it appears to me as if we are talking to two Jamaicas. It has, because the people who I am talking to around the country, I'm talking about rural Jamaica.
Desmond, you have us on speaker? Take us off the speaker.
Are you hearing me now?
Much better. Keep it that way.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, much better. So keep it that way. Are you hearing me?
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm saying that the people in rural Jamaica, they have not felt all these good things that you people are talking about. The people, the cost of living, people are having great difficulties just surviving. And I heard that the blue dot numbers is suggesting that Manchester is going to vote for the Labour Party. Well, based on my feedback and what I have seen on the ground, what I'm looking at is a 3-1 in favor of the PNP. So the pollsters have voted and have done their work. I am challenging the accuracy of those numbers that has been revealed. I think, and next week, that the results are going to confirm my position.
All right. So time will tell. Time will be our master. Yes? Desmond Richards there saying he doesn't believe these numbers from the Blue Dot polls. He's seeing something different. And he cites the example of Manchester with their 4 seats. And he says the PNP will win 3, the JLP 1. Now, do we go to our next break or do we go to our next question? No, we go to the break. Stay with us.
This message is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Since April 2021, NHD completed 8,330 houses. More than 10,360 units are under construction. Over 10,300 are in the planning and design stage. 6,750 are in the contract phase. 12,515 are in procurement. If you take all of that, in addition to what the NHD does directly with persons, the Jamaican public can be assured that from the NHD alone, 50,000 houses will be available on the market to meet the demand that exists.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Home is closer than you think when you save towards your dream home with the Homeowner Savings Plan, or HOSP, from CIBC Caribbean. With HOSP, you unlock preferential interest rates to earn more interest on your savings and pay less with a discounted mortgage rate. You can even borrow up to an additional US $5,000 or its equivalent to help you with your closing costs. Get home faster when you save the HOSP way with CIBC.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
It's action time when Daryl and Anne-Marie Vaz host the Jamaica Labour Party Portland Parish meeting this Saturday at Port Antonio Square, 5 p.m. Come hear from JLP champions. Main address comes from Prime Minister and Party Leader, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. That's Portland Parish meeting this Saturday, Port Antonio Square, 5 p.m. Daryl and Anne-Marie Vaz doing more for you on Election Day. Put your ex beside the bell. We choose Jamaica. Action. See you there.
Proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
It's 6:31. It's a Friday afternoon, Friday, August 29, 2025. We're now only 4 or 5 days away from the general elections of September 3, and we are revealing the last Blue Dot polls before Election Day.
This time next week, we'll know if the Jamaican people have indeed chosen Jamaica or they've decided that time come.
Yeah. We will be busy this time next Friday telling you who the members of the cabinet are. Yeah, who has made it to the cabinet, who hasn't. Yeah. All right. So, Jenny, next question.
All right. So what we're going to do is, and let me introduce this for those who, this might be the first time they're tuning in for the year, right? In February of this year, which was the first poll that we did for 2025, we introduced something new. We introduced the public to 3 key seats that we have named, that Cliff named, the weather vane seats. And the reason we call them the weather vane seats is because they vote with the winner, or they have voted with the winner for the last 5 general elections, meaning they get it right. For the last 5 general elections, they have always gotten it right. And so the thinking then is, if you get it right here, chances are you will get it right nationally, just based on historical trends. Right. Now, history is in the past, so modern day dynamics can change that trend, but going from the trend, if you get it right in those 3 seats, chances are you emerge the victor at the national level. So those 3 seats are St. Mary, Western, St. Elizabeth, Southwestern, and St. Elizabeth, Southeastern. So we have, for these 3 seats, we have done something different for the last 3 polls, including this one, which is to go into these constituencies with a larger sample. So after we've satisfied the necessary requirements for the nationally representative share that that constituency should contribute to our overall 1,500 sample, we go back in to talk to up to 100 people in each of these 3 seats. So we get a broader sense of what is happening in the constituency so that we can do this sort of special analysis. So we're going to now look at what these 3 seats are saying for the questions that we've looked at thus far, starting with which party they think is best suited to lead based on the plans and proposals that they've seen or heard. Reminding everyone, the overall figures, 49% saying the JLP is better suited to continue to form the government, to 30% who have the same opinion of the PNP taking over. Now, looking at the 3 weather vane seats, the support for the JLP is even stronger in all 3. All 3. So let's run through the numbers for those who are listening. St. Elizabeth Southeast, 54% in favor of the JLP's plans compared to 32% in favor of the PNP's proposals. That's St. Elizabeth Southeast. For St. Elizabeth Southwest, 56% in favor of continuing with the plans and proposals of the current administration compared to 36% who have more confidence in us taking the opposition out of opposition and bringing them into government. St. Mary Western, the support for the JLP stands at 54% compared to 36% support for the PNP.
And pause, because St. Mary Western, we focused on in our last poll.
Yes.
When the JLP was trailing
behind.
As I recall, about 20 points.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. When we get to the voting question, and we have, because this question, there isn't an exact comparator question for it.
Yes.
For the last poll. So we're just looking at the numbers for now. But when we get to the big question, the who would you vote for question, where we can look at what it was the last time, you're going to see that shift in St. Mary Western. But remember, when we looked at that overall map for this question, it's not the entire parish of St. Mary. Because at the parish level, the entire parish altogether was in favor of the PNP in terms of confidence in their plans and proposals. So this is unique to St. Mary Western.
Yes.
Yes.
Continue.
All right. So for this weather vane as well, we would have asked them the same question around the 3rd term and whether or not that has been earned by the current administration. And the support is there, particularly strong in Southwest, St. Elizabeth at 60%. So 60% of registered voters in Southwest St. Elizabeth saying they deserve a 3rd term.
That's where Floyd Green is going up against Dr. Miranda Wellington.
Correct. Yes. And in Southeast, that number stands at 55%, saying, let us continue, give them a 3rd term. And that is up 3% compared to May and up 10% compared to February. Right? In Southwest, that 60% is only 1 percentage point more than it was in May, but it is 12 points more than it was in February. And then in St. Mary Western, 58% say yes, give them a 3rd term. In May, that number was 35%. So there you're seeing again
big turnaround.
A massive resurgence, rebounding, recovery, whatever term you want to use is happening or has happened, as evidenced by these numbers in St. Mary Western.
And I mean, for those who know, since the May Blue Dot polls came out, and I think elsewhere also it suggested that the GLP chairman was in a spot of bother. If you ask anybody, they'll tell you he has not left West St. Mary. He crisscrosses that constituency night after night after night. So he did take it very seriously when the results came out in May that showed him so far behind. And I wonder now whether his efforts is what you're seeing reflected in the poll.
You have to consider that, because you're right, Ricardo. We heard that he was jolted by these numbers and the extent to which he was behind. and he has battened down inside there. He lives there, but it's there every day. A walk.
And the Prime Minister has also made at least, to my mind, I can recall at least 2 trips over the period that the polls were conducted.
Well, the impact of that can be sort of gleaned from the favorability numbers, which is, I want us to look at this. I know you would have reported on favorability earlier in the day, but certainly looking at the favorability of the 2 leaders in these 3 key seats really paints that picture. And so if he is having face time along with their representative, the impact is likely reflected in what we're seeing. So for Holness, for his favorability, his net favorability, meaning positive impressions minus negative impressions, is positive across the board. In the overall sample, that stands at 25%, right? Because he has 47% positive, 22% negative, so he has net favorability of 25%. And that is almost matched in St. Mary Western, where his net favorability is 24%. Last time, it was -7.
Exactly.
Right? It was -7, the last edition of the polls. In May, it is now 24%.
Positive.
So, and positive, right? Just to rebound to positive is significant, but to get all the way to 24%, mirroring the national picture, is a significant feat.
I'm no data scientist, but I have eyes. And one of the things I've been doing, because the Prime Minister has now made himself very accessible in this campaign, where you can essentially spend a day with him via TikTok. So he goes out in the morning and he goes live, and then he takes you across the parishes. So he did Westmoreland recently, he did St. Mary. And here's what I'm thinking, Janae Cliff. I'm wondering if the political figure Andrew Holness as Prime Minister can seem remote and aloof. Okay, that's the country's Prime Minister, but there's a distance. But when he is interacting with people, touching, pressing flesh, there is a different reaction. You don't see the kind of deference and reverence that you would expect someone to have for the person holding the highest political office in the land. There is a, "Oi, Andrew!" that kind of thing. And I'm wondering if what you're seeing and the turnaround is that people are now actually touching him. He's no longer seeming remote. You see him on a TV behind a lectern or in Parliament. You're actually touching him. And what he does on these trips, he stops at different points along the route and he goes out and he takes pictures, he fields questions, there's hugging, and there's a kind of...
And that's being amplified.
Obviously, through the platform. And there's a kind of... I don't want to use the word rock star, but there is a...
Well, that's what it is. Yeah, that is what it is.
A little bit of a celebrity.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting.
And he plays to it,
he does. It's very interesting to observe. And again, I dare say the anecdotal evidence it backs the data. The women, you see pockets and groups of women, and I don't know if you can find the picture, Sonia. There's one in Portmore where he's reaching across what seems to be a gate and reaching out to a woman. And the look on her face is pure ecstasy. Pure ecstasy. You saw in St. James when he took off that jacket and he threw it into the crowd, and the women went wild. So I'm wondering how much of this, what we're seeing, is just people over the period, they've finally gotten a chance to touch, to feel, to talk to him directly, face to face. And so maybe now they're thinking, okay, Andrew, we know him.
Is a Prime Minister that is, during this period, not remote.
Right.
Very connected.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, someone said to me on my program, women openly flirt with the Prime Minister. Openly.
Yes.
Say they want to borrow him.
Yes.
The sexual innuendos.
Yes. There's one famous video. He was walking in a community and a lady shouted something, and I saw that it jolted him.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, but I mean, the youngsters behind the glass all know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Anyway, going back to the numbers.
Right. So, St. Mary Western aside, and that significant turnaround there, his net favorability is above the national average in the other two weather vane seats, right? So in St. Elizabeth Southeast, it stands at 32%, as the difference between 53% who have a positive take or impression of the Prime Minister compared to only 21% who have something negative to say. So he's looking at 32% net favorability in Southeast St. Elizabeth. And in Southwest, that figure is almost equal at 31%, with 59% positive impressions compared to 28% negative, right? So Holness has certainly gained quite a bit of ground in terms of favorability, and his FaceTime with the public must be contributing to that.
Right.
It has to be. When you see people posting about their encounters with him, it's all over social media. The young boy who cried because he did not get to see him, and he went back so that he had the opportunity to meet him. Those sorts of things are perhaps taking root, and you are seeing it reflected in our numbers.
There's another video, a little girl got a hug and she turned to her mother and said, "Me nah beard now, you know." No, if you have the time, listeners, when he's on the road, I mean, there's not a lot of time left, but just spend a couple minutes watching the TikTok interactions. And it's live, so it's not as if somebody has edited it to give a particular impression. They're live throughout the entire time, and you can watch it. And I think that's what you're seeing in the numbers.
Yeah, and you're also seeing the strength of a leader who has been politically resilient after 2 years of consistent, vicious attacks. Yeah, he has proven to be the most politically resilient politician in Jamaica for the last 15, 20 years. Yeah.
15 minutes to 7, we're up on a break. Let's take the break and come back with more from
I would love to hear from our panelists
Blue Dot
on
Post.
what we're
Absolutely.
talking.
The following is a paid announcement by G2K.
After 8 years of no new taxes under the Jamaica Labour Party administration, this is the PNP's Damian Crawford proposing an increase in GCT.
1% increase in GCT will give us $25 million. Education has never been free.
This is the PNP's Dayton Campbell and Mark Golding proposing an increase in GCT on food imports, which economists say will drive up food prices in Jamaica.
Now is the time that we must put a little thing on the imported food into the country.
And we put some of the income taxes, some of the taxes on the imports of food rather.
Prices would go up as we already import most of our inflation from food and fuel.
We cannot trust the PNP. The PNP is the party of new taxes. On election day, put your X beside the bell. Vote for the Jamaica Labour Party.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by G2K.
As we enter the peak of hurricane season, don't let downtime disrupt your business. Digicel Business offers secure cloud storage and Jamaica's only Tier 3 certified data center, built to withstand storms and safeguard your data. With 24/7 monitoring, local hosting, and 100% uptime, your operations stay protected no matter the weather. Prepare now, protect what matters. Call Digicel Business Solutions at 876-469-2677 or visit digicelbusiness.com. Digicel Business Solutions. Stay online, stay protected. Still sweating with that old fan? It's time to upgrade! Meet Glacier, the AC unit that thinks for you. Energy efficient to slash your power bill. Wi-Fi enabled so you can control it from your phone. And self-cleaning because you've got better things to do. Powerful, smart, hassle-free. Call now at 876-923-652-123. Gaddy's Refrigeration Limited, delivering the perfect cooling solution tailored to your needs.
From beach days to business hubs, from public parks to thriving new communities, UDC is making development happen for you. We're building spaces where families connect, creating commercial zones that drive opportunity, and designing environments that support everyday life. Wherever Jamaicans live, work, or play, the Urban Development Corporation is there, shaping a better future, one project at a time. The Urban Development Corporation, making development happen for you.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
On election day, put your X beside the bell and vote for a reduction in income tax to a base rate of 15%, an affordable and safe rural school bus system which will be free from September to October. Vote for a JUTC system which is more accessible and will be free for students for the first 2 months of the school year. Vote for senior citizens who earn $6 million or less, paying no income tax on their earnings or pension. Put your X beside the bell and vote for the Jamaica Labour Party, which has been tough on crime and will continue the over 40% reduction in murders.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Minutes going up to 7 o'clock, the big reveal. And we're going to get the reactions of our analysts now to what we were discussing earlier about the pull of the Prime Minister on the campaign trail. And his numbers just turned around over the last 4 months. We have with us Kevin O'Brien Chang, Ronald Dina McLean, and Nadine Spence. Who's going to take the... Marlon Morgan. Morgan. Let me hear you, Marlon. This must be music to your ears. Your Prime Minister and party leader is back.
Hi, good evening, Cliff. Let me say good evening to your listeners, viewers on YouTube, and of course the entire Jamaica Labour Party family. We are particularly delighted at the news that is coming out, certainly from the poll findings here, as at August 2025. We are in no way conceited. We're not going to be complacent going into organizational activities come Wednesday. But just to be very clear, we're energized and upbeat. We're delighted with these numbers. You haven't quite dropped the voter intent as yet, certainly not for the listening public. But we're not particularly surprised at these developments. There, a couple, 2 years ago, the Prime Minister made a profound statement in Parliament. There are some people who viewed it as being arrogant. I understand that it lends itself to that, where the Prime Minister said in no uncertain terms that he has the ability to turn it on when he's ready. And looking back at that, as someone in the JLP's back office, I understand, and as I understood then, precisely what he meant. The Prime Minister is one of us. He is a Jamaican who does not hail from Tapanari's background. He's someone who came up through, humble and modest circumstances, applied himself, and has gotten to where he has gotten to in terms of life as a professional and life as a player in the political realm. Many Jamaicans can identify with him. As many observers have said, he has a particular way with the women folk in the country that works to his advantage. He's seen as being easy on the eyes. He's seen as having a particular appeal that works for us, and it is no surprise, therefore, that to the extent, as Ricardo Brooks conveyed a while ago, that the Prime Minister has been really pressing flesh in recent weeks and months. The Prime Minister has really been getting into the retail aspect of the politics. We're seeing the kind of engagement, we're seeing the kind of impression and the kind of numbers by virtue of these blue dot polls that we're seeing now. And as Labourites up and down the country, we are very delighted by these developments, Cliff.
All right. Kevin, your views on that, the pull of Holness?
Well, there's two components, One is the personality of the man, but remember his achievements. He has cut crime by 50%. He has brought unemployment to the lowest rate in our history and brought poverty rate to the lowest rate in our history. So it's all good and well. You go out there with a crowd and ray. What have you done for them? The facts are clear for this Prime Minister. And also the personality. There have been 3 really popular Prime Ministers, Prime Ministers in Jamaica. Bustamante, Portia, and Andrew. Now, Portia, remember, she was Prime Minister the first time for a short term, year or two. And in her second term, people forget, she was very protected by the PNP. She couldn't go out with the crowds. If you remember well, She couldn't even give interviews. She was hidden. So not since Bustamante has we have a personality, outgoing personality of a prime minister.
Not Michael Manley, Kevin?
Michael is very popular, but in an intellectual way. Michael Manley grew up as an uptown white boy, just like Edward Seaga. He did not grow up with the people. He never understood the people. If you read his biographies, Beverly Manley says she had to teach him about reggae and this and that. He was not brought up in the grassroots. Bustamante was, Andrew Holness was. And that's the similarity with them. I'm a historian. It's very clear. Man of the people who understands the people. And I've always said Andrew Holness doesn't have to try to analyze and try to understand what the people are thinking. He's one of them. Grew up in a board house, Spanish Town Primary, St. Catherine High, ghetto school. He is one of the people. So he instinctively reacts like the people do. And people see that natural connection. They say he's one of us, and it's a reality. It's not often politicians say that I'm one of you in a fake kind of way, from up, down, there, down. He was one of them.
Yeah.
And so he has the bond with the people, but the achievements are there. When the people hug him up, they say, you cut crime, you make us feel safe, you give us job, we're not poor no more. So it's what they call a perfect storm. That's what we are seeing with Andrew Holness going out there.
All right. Well, to the other big numbers now, the big questions. First of all, the party standings, and then we're going to tell you what would be the result in the weather vane seats. Okay?
All right. So, as we always do, we ask the question, if a general election were being held today, which political party's candidate would you vote for in your constituency? The JLP has opened up a 13-point lead over the PNP based on these polls, with 46% of the people that we interviewed indicating that they would vote for the JLP candidate in their respective constituencies. That is compared to 33% who indicated that they would put their ex next to the head for the PNP candidate in their constituencies. And people have gotten up off the bench because the undecided bloc is at a 5-year low, 20%. Usually that number is in the 40%. We're usually looking at 2 in 5 people. I don't know who I would vote for. I'm completely undecided. No, that undecided bloc is down by half to 20%. People are making up their minds. And based on these results, more of the spoils have gone to the current administration than to the opposition who is vying to unseat them.
Hold on. This is huge. A 13 percentage point lead is huge, right? Tell me, what were the numbers in the last poll? As I recall, it was 31 PNP, 35 JLP. It was a 4-point lead, wasn't it?
It was.
And
yes,
a 4-point lead has now been tripled?
Been tripled.
Into a
13 points. That is correct.
And based on our history and my memory, the numbers are not yet back at where we were just before the September 2020 elections.
You are right. And Cliff, you know your memory sharp.
Yeah.
Right? So in September 2020, that JLP figure was 49%. It's 46. It's not that far off from where they were just heading into that 2020 election. Then the margin was 17 points between the JLP and the PNP in the JLP's favor. It's not quite there. It's down at 13. But yes, as you rightly say, that leap between May and now from 35 to 46 is significant. Significant might be putting it lightly.
Jenny, let me ask you what I know every single listener and viewer is asking. You're sure?
I am sure. We are sure that this reflects the views of the public that we polled during the week that we polled them. And I say this.
And you never lock up in a room a poll Marlon Morgan alone?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We were in the field in all of the nooks and crannies of all 63 constituencies are represented in this poll proportionately. This is a nationally representative poll at the constituency level and also at the demographic level in terms of age and gender.
Another question for you, based on an observation, what does this mean in terms of where the undecideds are going? It means they're breaking for the JLP.
Far more significantly than they have chosen the PNP, yes. Because the PNP, they're at 33%. That's a 2 percentage point uptick from where they were in May. So they have gotten some of it. But the majority of it, of those who've gotten up and said, okay, the time is here for us to make a decision because the election is next week. It's now or never. And most of them have chosen the Labour Party.
It's a break for the Labour Party. And I've been telling my colleagues that in my understanding and following of the politics, Jamaicans tend to vote in like herds. You sit on the fence and then when you make up your mind, we tend to move mostly in one direction. Yeah? And that is why we have had landslide majorities for so many of our general elections. I don't know if this will be another landslide. It is certainly a 13-point lead is heading in that direction. Yeah? But we don't know. We don't know what is going to happen on election day. Yeah.
So what this does...
And let me just ask again. You were in the field up to 2 days ago.
Up to 2 days ago. We were in the field up until about 6 p.m. on Wednesday.
6 p.m. Wednesday evening.
Yes.
Tell me, the weather vane seats now, because the weather vane seats should tell us a story.
All right.
If these numbers are correct.
Okay. Let me just switch to that really quickly.
And the weather vane seats, listeners, are the seats that have been very good indicators of how the country is going to vote. Southwest St. Elizabeth has voted with a winning party for the last 5 elections. So too Southeast St. Elizabeth. So too Western St. Mary. They have voted with a winning party. Yeah, at the national level. And that is why we have been focusing on them for the last several months. I've asked the Blue Dot team to go in there, do the polling, and let us understand what is happening in the weather vane seats. Over to you, Jenny.
Well, in the weather vane seats, the trend is holding, right? So, in St. Elizabeth Southeast, JLP, 53% to the PNP's 31%.
That's Franklin Witter. Southeast?
Yes.
53.
53 to 31.
A 22-point lead.
In St. Elizabeth Southwest, it is 55% to the PNP's 37%.
That's an 18-point lead.
Correct. And in St. Mary Western, it is 50% for the JLP to the PNP's 40%.
A 10-point lead.
Right. But that is significant because in May, it was 20% for the JLP in this same weather vane special focus, 20% for the JLP to 39% for the PNP. Now it is 50% for the JLP.
Yes.
To 40% for the PNP. So the PNP numbers are holding firm. They're not losing ground. They're not slipping, right? On the overall, they've inched up by 2 points. In St. Elizabeth Southeast, they've dipped by 2 points. In St. Elizabeth Southwest, they've gained 4 points, moving from 33 to 37. In St. Mary Western, there's only a 1 point difference between the figures in May and the figures now for the PNP. So they are holding stable.
But the JLP is surging.
But the JLP is surging and opening up that gap.
So the takeaway from the polls is that the governing Jamaica Labour Party is surging in the polls, with 5 days to go before the elections. They have momentum.
They have momentum heading into the last stretch of campaigning, how they use that over the next few days. And of course, what these polls will never account for is mobilization on the day.
Organization.
Right? Organization on the day, we know can be the difference between poll results and reality. And it's important for people to understand that, because those 65% of these same people that we spoke to indicated that they are going to come out to vote. It remains to be seen how many of them actually do and what will be the official voter turnout reported by the authorities. Is it really going to be 65% when the last one was half of that? So if people come out and they vote the way that they say that they're going to vote, it could be quite significant. One of the things that we also did as part of the analysis is that we looked at just those people who said that they would vote. All right? So this 46 to 33 overall is everybody. Whether you're undecided, you're voting for somebody else, or you've made up your mind for one of the two leading contenders. We isolated those who said, yes, I'm going to turn out to the polls. And the margin between the two parties was 14 points in favor of the current government. So when you look at those who have made up their minds, I'm going to the polls, the margin holds. As a matter of fact, it opens up just a little bit, just by 1 point, to 14 points in favor of the JLP.
Yes. Just going back to the momentum, the other pollster, Don, reported, was it 8-9 days ago? About just under 2 weeks ago, that in his polling, the PNP's lead from September last year of 9 percentage points,
Near 10,
had evaporated to a point where they were ahead by 0.8 of a percentage point. It means that the JLP was moving ahead, the PNP had stalled. And that seems to be in alignment with what you have found.
Correct, where they continue to be stable. They are bringing in the same numbers as they did earlier in the year, but the gap is being influenced by the other side of the equation, which is the JLP gaining significant momentum. And so you may refer to it as stalling. Perhaps that is what is happening, where those that they've locked in are locked in.
Yes, the base.
But perhaps they are not bringing more people into the fray.
Undecided.
And the JLP is. And who the JLP has picked up are those people who were previously on the fence.
Yes.
Those undecideds, those what we call ambivalent potential voters that we've been talking about for all of these polls. We need to get them motivated. And I believe it was Dr. Spence who said in one of these shows, they will get up when it is time and when they see something to get up for. And they have gotten up and they've signaled that what they're getting up for is what is being portrayed in the messaging of the current administration, certainly by these numbers.
All right. So if you're just joining us, the party standings as of 2 days ago, when the polls were completed on Wednesday evening, the governing Jamaica Labour Party is surging in the polls. They have what the Americans call Big Mo, momentum, on their side. They have now opened up a 13-point lead over the opposition People's National Party. The Labour Party is standing at 46%, said they would vote for them if they were asked to go to a general elections. 46% saying the JLP, 33% saying the PNP. And that 33% compares to the May result for the PNP of 31%, while the JLP in May was 35%. So they have gained 11 percentage points in between May and this poll. Yes? Now, if my math is correct, I won't ask Ricardo this, Janae. An 11-point gain for the JLP against a 35-point position, that is about a 32 percentage increase, 11 or 35. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a more than 30% increase.
Yes.
Compared to 2% over 31%.
Yes.
That's less than 7%. You don't understand that arithmetic. We're going to go to the break or go straight to the analysts for their reactions.
Ronaldinho McLean.
So the big story in these numbers, I think, is that undecided voters seem to be breaking for the Jamaica Labour Party. And I quickly pulled up the JLP manifesto, because in all the manifesto documents, they begin with a message from Andrew Holness, and at the end of the message, there's this little tag called "My Message to the Undecided." And I'll read just one paragraph from it. "The choice before you may be put this way: do we continue to build on the tremendous progress we have made, or do we risk it all by handing the country over to those who have not proven that they can deliver? Some may say, let us give someone else a chance, but government is not a game of chance. The future of Jamaica should not be gambled with." And I heard a similar sentiment seeing Dr. Holness walk through the streets when he was doing his tour of the West, him talking to people and engage with people and saying it's a question of steady hands and certainty versus gambling with uncertainty in the hands of the opposition. I think even the Don Anderson poll, the Don Anderson polls you referenced from a few days ago said that, these polls were taken, I think part of it was done
August 2 to 11.
Right, August 2 to 11. A large part of it was before the JLP mass rally. 30% of people at the time, 30% of voters said they could still be swayed by the message that either party presents. And if what we're seeing from the People's National Party is a message that says, well, one, the achievements that the JLP touts aren't being reflected in people's feelings on the ground, and two, the JLP is just too corrupt to continue in government. And the message that we're seeing from the JLP is that they've delivered on 9 years of achievements, and that they have steady hands on the ship, and that continuity will that we're on a trajectory that Jamaican people can trust, and that the PNP lacks credibility to handle things like the economy, other areas of policy, and so on. Then I think what these numbers are telling us is that undecided voters who are still swayable, or at least were swayable, many of them, are largely breaking for the message of the Jamaica Labour Party.
Marlon Morgan.
I mean, quite frankly, when you consider what is before us at present, you get the clear sense, as the Prime Minister underscored in the leadership debate last evening, that this election is coming down to a choice between performance and proven track record on the one hand, and promises on the other hand, and a track record that is dismal, quite frankly. I often use the analogy of track and field and conditioning athletes when I'm on these results revelation programs here at Nationwide, certainly. And you get the distinct sense, Cliff, Ricardo, listeners and viewers, that the PNP had exhibited what you could consider pre-season form or early season form. Certainly when one pollster, Don Anderson that is, had them having and enjoying a 9 percentage point lead in September of 2024. What that means really is that to the extent that they were on the road and so on, all throughout that time, you didn't have much room to go much further from there. And the JLP had not yet hit full throttle. The JLP had not yet come into its own in certain ways. And we have seen that in recent weeks, and which is why I am gleaning and interpreting the movement we're seeing now in the polls between where we were as a party in May to where we are now, because a number of things have happened since then. You have had what the PNP is describing as a raft of ribbon cutting exercises. We have had the Morant Bay Town Centre opened. You have had considerable groundbreaking. You have had the rural school bus system taking shape and coming into its own, and the sensibilities of many Jamaicans have been offended by the position the PNP has taken in relation to the rural school bus system that is set to roll out come September morning. And there's another key element in this as well, Cliff and colleagues all. The JLP not only had our workers' affirmation exercises in recent weeks, but we have also settled some key seats. And I'll tell you why that is of some moment. A number of Labourites were, in some respects, despondent and a bit dejected, having regard to what they construed as and interpreted as a degree of taking them for granted, as it were.
They think you ignored them.
Being neglected.
They think you ignored them.
They think they were neglected. And the truth of the matter is that Andrew Holness is not a drafts or a checkers player. He's a chess player. Audrey Marks was obviously tipped by Andrew Holness to be presented, as it were, as the JLP standard bearer of the long looked on to Northeast Manchester seat. You saw also in North Central St. Andrew, and Cliff will recall this very well, a number of Labourites who repose a lot of confidence in my colleague Delana Sivright were looking on anxiously as to what moves the JLP would have made in relation to North Central St. Andrew. And we have had some other candidate changes as well. Warren Newby is in Northwest Clarendon, Ian Ives is in Southern Manchester, and we have Garfield James out west in Westmoreland Western. These things are of some moment because we had incumbent MPs that some workers in particular, a considerable degree of the worker corps, felt that these members of parliament, the incumbents at the time, were not necessarily acquitting themselves well and had not essentially endeared themselves to the people. I'm referring to our standard bearer at the time up in Northwest Clarendon, South Manchester, and of course over in Westmoreland Western, for example. But you're seeing that settling that has taken place, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, to the extent that the Prime Minister and the team have been out into the highways and the byways and pressing flesh a number of Labourites who were essentially, harboring feelings or resentment and harboring feelings of neglect are now coming on board. And Bobby Montague is essentially presenting a profile in political turnaround because, as you have quite rightly observed, folks, he has essentially based himself in St. Mary Western, and it is to his credit that we're seeing the numbers we're seeing now. And that's what politics is about.
Let me ask you, Marlon, because I heard the General Secretary of the People's National Party in responding to the Don Anderson poll, that 0.8% of a percent lead that they had. And his argument was he wasn't rattled because he thought the People's National Party was still going to best the JLP on the day mobilization. And he pointed to the local government election where the poll suggested it was going to be close, and in terms of popular vote, they had a blowout. How do you respond to that?
Dayton Scramble is a man who is in the business of and has exhibited a propensity to basically just say
in terms of popular vote. The popular vote
didn't have a blowout.
20,000.
But let's refocus the discussion, gentlemen.
Yes, go ahead.
Dayton Scramble has a habit of saying one agoso. You saw him in relation to Grand Gala talking rubbish about going up there big and bold, as if they could go and mow down the police and the security forces at the National Stadium. You heard him in recent times talking about integrity lamp. Not Nagoso. No PNP indoor agent or indeed JLP indoor agent can attend upon the precincts of the polling station with any implement other than the implement provided for by the people administering the elections. Do not take Dayton Scramble seriously. He is the biggest political joker here in Jamaica, next to Damian Crawford, and come Wednesday, he'll be taken out of his misery. But at the same time, I want to urge the members of my JLP family, do not be complacent. Just relax, remain focused, organized, and get out the votes on election day. Being arrogant is not our business. It's the PNP who has been exhibiting arrogance because they have implored taxi men to withhold support in terms of commute to JLP supporters. And they have done other things that smack of arrogance as well.
Yeah, and so what's your counter to things like that? Because that underground mobilization is going to be key.
We have been having our own interface with taxi operators. Some 2 weeks ago, Darrell Vaz and the Prime Minister had a meeting with taxi operators because we recognize one of the things the PNP is doing, they're running a very exploitative and opportunistic campaign, which in a sense is not a bad strategy politically. Wherever they see deficits and gaps to maneuver in, they seek to play upon that and maneuver where that is concerned. And so to the extent that taxi operators felt that there was commentary in relation to the rural school bus system that was unsavory, the PNP has sought to play upon that and exploit that. And the truth of the matter is that taxi operators, we value and respect you. We value and respect your contribution to national development. You are the people who take people from point A to point B and get our people to work, to school and so on. And even with a school bus system, the school bus system will not be serving all the time, because when the school buses are parked on a Saturday and on a Sunday and youngsters are going to Sabbath school or Sunday school, it is you, the same taximan, who will be assisting in that commute. So any notion to the contrary, any idea that the PNP and Peter Bunting and Dayton Campbell are trying to exploit, not Nagoso, mash down those lies. We value and respect you, and that is why we have made it easier for you as public passenger vehicle operators to access licenses. We have made it easier in terms of devolving the system, not having applications coming to pile up at Maxwell Avenue. We have devolved it by having licenses granted at the regional level here in Jamaica.
Thank you, Marlon Morgan. And Janae, yes, we are out of the field now.
Yes.
We won't be going back into the field for the foreseeable future until well after the elections.
Correct. So we'll go back in probably in February to take a temperature check of the first 6 months of whichever administration emerges victorious. Come next week, Wednesday, and we will certainly be there with you, letting the people know who that is as the information comes in, and giving them some seats to watch. We have some exciting things in store.
Yeah, what can we expect on Wednesday night?
All right, so on Wednesday night, for those who may have tuned in to some previous coverage shows around elections, you would have been introduced to the Blue Dot Gizada Smart Map. Right, so we can tap into any constituency. You're seeing historical results, so you know what has happened before. And as the box seats, as the boxes get counted, and that information is released to us, we'll be giving you real-time updates, division by division, seat by seat, and so you will know from our coverage when we call the seat. And we will see who gets to 32 first.
And she has been a little coy, yeah, because what Blue Dot and their data scientists have devised, they have drilled down to tracking the count in each box. Yeah, so they're about, I was looking at the figures today, in one constituency, you have about easily 800, 700 boxes, yeah, or a little over that, mainly about 90 odd boxes. And what they've done is to gone into the history of each of those boxes.
Yes.
And
in terms of where they come from?
No, how they voted.
How they vote.
Remember, it's a box per polling station, right? So you may have 150, 200 voters in a polling station. So what they've done is to do the historical tracking of how that box has voted over the last 6-7 elections. So it gives you a fair indication. Is that a PNP box or a JLP box? Is it a box that votes 50-50? It can go either way.
Right.
And they can model from that. Yeah. So when they look and say that box isn't in yet, yeah, or it has come in, but the usual margin of victory for Party A is usually 80-20, but Party A is now down to 40-40. Yeah, they are the data scientists and the statisticians. They can tell you that Party A is underperforming, could be in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they get it down to a science now.
Yes. So, all that juiciness is in store on Wednesday, and we'll show you, before we get into that, some of what goes into creating that, and looking at some of the historical data trends. And we've identified, in addition to the 3 weather vane seats, there are some other key seats to watch, because they have been historically so close that we can estimate how many votes it will take to flip the seat the other way. Right?
That's going to be interesting.
All of that will come in the first hour before we start to get the counts coming in, right? Because they'll close the polls, and then we'll have to wait a bit. So in your waiting, you will get a strong sense of who do we really need to be watching tonight? Yeah. Which seats, which divisions within some of those seats do we really need to be paying attention to? And once we see certain things going in a particular direction, what the national result is likely to be.
And then they will advise us. We have a winner. Time to call it.
So, Janae, you're going to be manning the decision desk.
The decision desk.
I will be manning the decision desk along with Jahail Smith. Jahail was here in May. Yes. And would have wowed the audience. Yes. We're going to get him a message. Tell me this seat. Tell me that seat. Right. What's happening in this seat? He will be there as well.
Thank you so much, Janae Stevens-Taylor. Yes, Chief Consumer Insights Officer at Blue Dot. Yeah.
It is my pleasure.
Yeah.
We'll see her again on Wednesday.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take the break and then come back and wrap up with our analysts.
Keep it cool, keep it cool. Summertime hot, but we have all the tools. Keep it cool, keep it cool. Enough ways to see it, you just have to choose. Stay out of the fridge, just use a igloo. Remember your Kisco ice and the juice. The fan AC combo, yeah, I hit that. AC for a bit, then a fan after that. Keep it cool, keep it cool. This summer JPS have all the tools. Keep you cool with JPS. Download the JPS app today.
Stay ahead in your career with UWI-STAR, the short-term advancement resource center. Our programs are designed to support your professional growth. Join our community of professionals and take the next step in your career. Visit our website, www.mona.uwi.edu/short-courses to learn more about the continuing professional education programs of UWI-STAR.
Right the star.
All right, so we're going to wrap now with Nadine Spence and Kevin O'Brien Chang, or Ronaldino McLean. Nadine, yes. Now that you have all the numbers, your perspective.
Certainly, Cliff, I think we saw it. I was with you here when we saw what was happening in halfway tree in terms of the numbers that turned out at the JLP mass rally, and we were amazed at the crowd. I remember George describing it. Ricardo, you yourself talked about the energy of the crowd being in the space. And I think, that if you were to join the PM on one of his trips when he's going through the country on social media, you see the reaction, you see people lining up, waiting on him. You hear about people sitting down, waiting for hours for him to come. And I think we would have seen that the momentum had shifted significantly and was building, leading up to the polls. So, and that, strangely enough, you weren't seeing the PNP in as dramatic a fashion as you would have seen the JLP. Nomination day as well. Even though we know that people are importing crowds and people are, curating their crowds, nomination day was also dramatic for the JLP in many spaces. And then as well, the PNP did some PNP MP candidates and MPs did some things that made you wonder if they felt secure about their victory. So I think a number of indicators leading up to this kind of told you told all of us that things had been changing in the interest of the JLP. So even though the numbers in some instances are startling, I'm not altogether surprised.
Ronaldino, your big takeaway?
Yeah, so, well, again, the big takeaway from me is that undecided voters seem to be breaking for the Jamaica Labour Party. And if that's the case, then it's just telling me that the PNP's messaging, at least not all of its messaging, the PNP's messaging is then just not working. And so my own view is that a lot of the focus on the Integrity Commission investigation into the Prime Minister is not an effective line of attack for the PNP, just because I think the average Jamaican, sort of sees corruption on both sides of the aisle and are much more interested in what the parties are presenting to them for what they're going to do to improve their lives over the next 5 years. And so if I were the PNP tonight, I'd be worried by these findings, and I'd be trying to refocus my message to shore up that undecided group. Otherwise, I'd be depending on the undecided voters who say they're breaking for the Jamaica Labour Party, just not turning up on election day, and therefore depending on my base of support to be effectively mobilized on that day. And if I'm the Jamaica Labour Party, I'm continuing to push in these final few days until Wednesday, leading up, and continuing to go hard for that undecided group, because it's a significant group of Jamaicans, and especially if they say they can be swayed, then trust them and try to sway them.
Thank you very much, Ronaldino McLean, Dr. Nadine Spence, Kevin O'Brien Chang, Marlon Morgan. Thank you all so much for being with us this evening.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you also to Janae Stevens-Taylor of Blue Dot.
My pleasure.
After the break, we're going to present to you a national broadcast by the Minister of Transport, Daryl Vaz.
This is an important announcement by the Minister of Transport, Daryl Vaz, on the Rural School Bus Program. This is brought to you by the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport.
My fellow Jamaicans, especially our rural children and parents, good evening. I'm proud to announce that Phase 1 of the National Rural School Bus Program will begin on Monday, September 8, 2025, with 55 of the 122 routes covering all parishes being served by 60 of the 110 rural school buses. Thousands of students from 258 of 858 schools across all parishes will benefit with the introduction of the National Rural School Bus Program. Far too long, rural students across Jamaica have been unable to attend school regularly because of high transportation costs and inadequate public transport for children. Many children have been forced to travel on foot or in unsafe vehicles, are exposed to numerous risks, including traffic accidents, crime, and disrespect from the ever so popular cry, "No Schoolers." That ends this September morning. It has always been the policy of this government that all students should have and must have access to reliable, affordable, safe, and efficient transportation to and from school. As a rural MP, I've seen firsthand the stress of our parents and the struggles of our children. This isn't about politics, it's personal. I've made it my mission to ensure the National Rural School Bus Program becomes a reality. It is a priority of this administration and one of the most rewarding achievements of my political career. Data from the Jamaica Constabulary Force indicates that in 2023, 18 students died in traffic accidents. In 2024, 24 students. And so far since the start of 2025, 12 students have lost their lives tragically from being involved in traffic accidents. Not to mention the 792 students injured during this period. If those numbers aren't sufficient for us to act now, then what is? This government decided to act through the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport in partnership with the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information. After careful deliberation and due diligence, we accepted an unsolicited proposal for the importation of 110 school buses to urgently start to solve the transportation needs of our rural students. From day one, we have been transparent and honest about this plan. These buses are specially manufactured for the safety of students and have been used to transport students in the United States since 1937. They are safe and reliable. These same buses have been used in sections of rural Jamaica to transport students for many decades. So this is not an election ploy, as some would want to believe. This was a carefully calculated action plan to alleviate the stress and strain of our rural students and parents. No more talking, no more delay, no more leaving our rural students to fend for themselves. These 110 school buses will be deployed in a phased implementation system. As mentioned earlier, 60 of the buses will begin operating along 55 rural routes come September 8th, with the other 40 being gradually introduced between September to November on 67 additional rural routes, totaling 122 routes, servicing 258 rural schools across Jamaica, and 10 additional buses will be reserved to ensure continuity of the fleet and service. This will complement rural routes in Clarendon and St. Thomas already being served by the JUTC. This service will come at no cost to parents and students for the first 2 months, September and October. After that, it will be $50 per trip per child. This will be significant savings for rural families when compared to previously paying between $300 and $600 per child per day for transportation to school. Parents will no longer have to choose which child goes to school. All rural children will now be able to go to school every day, allowing them to maximize their full potential. It is inequitable for parents in rural Jamaica that what it costs in transportation to send one child to school daily in rural Jamaica could send between 10 and 15 children to school in the Kingston Metropolitan Transport Region. This ends now. I'm also pleased to announce that 12 of these rural school buses will serve 8 special needs schools in Phase 1, with the introduction of 1 more in Phase 2. As we continue to serve our rural students and parents, more schools, more children with special needs will be added to this program. Following last month's testing of the buses on all 122 routes, changes have been made to the sizes of the remainder of the buses that will be shipped to allow for the ease of access to some rural roads. Where safety is concerned, I'm happy to report that all 60 buses that will roll out in September are ready for the Jamaican roads. All doors have been changed to the left side, all tires have been replaced with new ones, and all 60 buses fully serviced. The installation of modern features such as GPS tracking, accessible by parents, speed limiters, onboard surveillance cameras, geofencing, and a cashless payment system have been completed. Our parents will be able to monitor the movement of their children to and from school. This government is ensuring that our commitments to the Jamaican people are kept. We know you value action and performance. We will continue to expand the fleet of the Rural School Bus Program over the next 2 fiscal years. By the end of 27-28 financial year, all 14 parishes will have sufficient school buses to serve the 858 rural schools across the island. We have started with 258, and we are committed to servicing the other 600 rural schools across the island by 2028. This is my commitment to you. Despite the naysayers and the doubters of this initiative, I am happy but not surprised that a strong majority of well-thinking Jamaicans support the Rural School Bus Program as a well-needed national benefit for rural Jamaica. I will continue my efforts to ensure that all rural students can travel to school safely and economically in a dedicated fit-for-purpose school bus. But we're not done yet. Not only will our rural students benefit from reliable transportation, UWI and UTech students will no longer have to fear leaving class at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Through the JUTC, several routes that serve UWI and UTech will be extended. These include Route 19AX from UWI UTech to Greater Portmore. This bus will depart UWI's back gate at 9:15 p.m. and then pick up UTech. Route 24EX from UWI UTech to Spanish Town will leave UWI's back gate at 8:45 p.m. and 9:15 and then pick up UTech. Route 45EX from UWI UTech to Meadowbrook will leave UWI's back gate at 8:30 p.m. and then pick up UTech. Route 95EX from UWI UTech to Bull Bay will leave UWI's back gate at 9:15 p.m. then pick up at UTech. A new route will also be introduced. 508 from Old Harbour to UWI Front Gate and UTech via Spanish Town. This will depart Old Harbour at 5:15 a.m. and 6:50 p.m. and UWI Front Gate 4 p.m. and 9:10 p.m. In addition, arrangements are being made to extend this service to all tertiary level students and institutions in short order. Not only will the JUTC be extending its routes, but all tertiary students with a valid school identification card will also travel free on buses for September and October. JUTC is committed to ensuring that all commuters, particularly our students, have safe, reliable transportation. As Minister, I've been active and attentive to the needs and requests of you, the public, and together we can dramatically improve public transport in Jamaica, with much more to be done. For far too long, our students have suffered and have been preyed on by rogue transport operators, giving the hard-working and law-abiding operators a bad name. As Minister with responsibility for transport, I say no more. It is time for our students to hear schoolers only. This is now their time. Let us choose to protect our students. Jamaica, this minister and this government does not make promises. We deliver on commitments. We are committed to launching the National Rural School Bus Program this September and expanding it to all 858 schools within 2 years. Meanwhile, regrettably and unfortunately, the opposition has categorically stated that if elected, they will scrap the rural school bus system just as they did in 2012. Jamaicans, the choice is yours. May God continue to bless Jamaica, the land we love.
That was an important announcement by the Minister of Transport, Darrell Vaz, on the Rural School Bus Program. It was brought to you by the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport.
Did you know that you can vote without the new voter ID card? Once you're registered to vote, that is, your name is on the voters list, you can vote in the upcoming election. If you don't have your voter ID card, visit your polling station on election day and our trained election day workers will assist you. That was a message from the Electoral Office of Jamaica.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
On election day, put your X beside the bell and vote for a reduction in income tax to a base rate of 15%, an affordable and safe rural school bus system which will be free from September to October. Vote for a JUTC system which is more accessible and will be free for students for the first 2 months of the school year. Vote for senior citizens who earn $6 million or less, paying no income tax on their earnings or pension. Put your X beside the bell and vote for the Jamaica Labour Party, which has been tough on crime and will continue the over 40% reduction in murders.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
you can still go through quicker and cheaper with a T-tag under the new toll rate structure. Effective August 23, there will be some changes to the toll rates at the Portmore, Spanish Town, Vineyards, and Maypen toll plazas. But don't worry, with a T-tag, all Class 1 and Class 2 customers will enjoy discounted rates for every single passage. Plus, your 10th weekly trip through the same toll plaza is free. Visit transjamhighways.com for details. Get your T-tag today from any manually operated toll booth on Transjam Highways.
Escape to Idlewild in a grill where sand and serenity meet. Visit idlewild.com or call 876-957-3302. Idlewild and stay a while.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Our senior citizens have given their service. Now it is time to give back even more. Under the Jamaica Labour Party administration, senior citizens 65 years and older earning $6 million or less, including their pension, will pay absolutely no income tax. The Jamaica Labour Party is doing more for you. On election day, put your X beside the bell.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
It's 15 minutes to 8. If you haven't heard the news of the evening, the governing Jamaica Labour Party is now 13 points ahead of the opposition People's National Party heading into next week's general election. We're taking your calls, 630-9371-4, 618-8255. I'm Ricardo Brooks. He's Cliff Hughes. Errol is on the line. Good evening, Errol.
Ricardo.
How you do?
There you know.
Turn on the radio. Turn on the radio.
Hold on.
Oh. Yes, Errol? 630-9371-4, 618-8255. We're taking your calls.
Errol is here.
Errol, good evening.
Good evening, Labourite.
Sure. I tell you, man.
What?
This me I wait for a long time, you know, the blood of fall, you know.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. The last time Marky G I go like he want to step on my boss, him wife, and all them things the way I debating go debate about country, but on the country I debate about.
Uh-huh.
Yeah? And when me not debate about after Ricardo.
Who's that?
Marky G.
Marky G did that throw him political punches, man.
Political punch, man, show him go debate and show the country what him fi do from what him not fi do. Yeah? When we are debate, him now debate. But you see what I read him now? Me say, poor guy like go punch him left, right, change everything. I can't wait for Wednesday.
Remember, a poll is just a snapshot in time. 5 days, 4 days, a whole heap of days.
We have everything planned, man. Nothing can change.
Okay.
You have everything planned? What do you mean?
Everything planned.
Like what, sir?
When we say everything planned, you know, we are running already. Everything. We are going to take out who we take out. Everywhere we are going to go to the people working for.
Me hear say,
so ease up.
Me hear say, you left West Kingston and go up East Rural and Eastern to help.
You know.
Me hear.
Yeah, man. East Rural, man. West Kingston, see it.
Me hear. So now left and go help.
Yes, man. When I left no stone behind.
I hear you.
So you say all the time, yeah, Blue Rock supposed to reveal and say, yeah, 32. We're going past 32 them time, you know.
Oh, okay. I hear
You
you.
hear that?
I hear you.
All right.
All right, Errol. 630-9371-461-88255. Carlene Smith on YouTube says a pole is a double-bladed sword. Yeah. Killian Henry says, Ricardo, me buy ya put on long time. Well, me did tell if I buy ya put on kind of a not go a sit now come. Godfrey Smith says, I am going to be a runner for my family members. Yeah. You know, Cliff, one of my friends who is blind has asked me, and I consider it the greatest privilege and honor of my life, to vote, to accompany him to the polling station and to cast the ballot on his behalf.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you have to swear, right?
Yes.
Or he has to swear as well.
We both, I think, have to swear.
Oh.
Yeah. And I take it more seriously than the ballot I'm going to cast for myself.
Yes.
That somebody could repose that confidence, yeah? Yeah. Donovan Ewart says, no complacency. Yeah. Angie says, labor rights, how you all being doing over here? Good night, everybody. You can join the YouTube community, Nationwide 90 FM Live 2. More than 4,000 of them are with us tonight. Lloyd Campbell said a 13-point lead is a swing. YRD says, what Mark Golding did, and the chat is moving fast, what Mark Golding did last night hurts a lot of people. He has no political common sense. He is the worst opposition leader Jamaica has ever seen. Papa Nana.
Good evening. God bless my soul. If I never get to talk to you, I would have a good weekend.
I think you're going to say, God bless my soul is a TV poll.
Listen to me. Let me ask you something.
Yes.
You want to tell me with so much intelligent journalist that was watching that thing there participate in that debate between Mr. Holness and Mr.
Golding.
Mark Golding. You want to tell me that none of the journalists didn't see that is a fake demonstration paper that Mr. Holness carried out there?
You mean Mr. Golding?
Mr. Golding, yes. Sorry.
Then how you know said fake?
Then tell me something. You never see how him hold it. That piece of red paper, my father was a JP, that is an indication of where you take we will get birth certificate. Did any of them, all the intelligent man like Mr. Hughes, tell him so that him see it? You know, see him hold the paper.
Yeah,
see what was written on it.
I did consider that whether the journalists in the room would have asked to examine the document. I did consider that. That would have been appropriate, I think.
Yeah.
For verification purposes, because the truth is, and I'm not saying the document isn't authentic, but certainly there was no way of seeing what it was right. Yeah, that's a fair point, Papa Nana.
Believe me, I'm so surprised a man like Mr. Cliff using mother most disappointed.
No, but Cliff never did. But poor Cliff never done there, Papa Nana.
Poor Cliff. You know how much people tell me say them not said until they hear what Cliff said.
But Cliff never done there, Papa Nana. Oh God, man. You know,
I wasn't at the debate, you know, Papa Nana.
You wasn't there.
You wasn't on it?
No.
Lord God, oh God.
Oh, Jesus. God.
You know me that Johnny and beat him if he deserved the beating, Papa Nana. But he never did it, man. He did there.
You know, say me wouldn't want you beat him. It might take too long to get better.
Jesus. Only can tell like for me, sir.
That was a master stroke of Mr. Golding. You see him hold the paper?
Again, Papa Nana, I don't know I don't know that the paper is not authentic, but I take your point that the journalist should have looked at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And listen to me. From him went on that stage there, he disqualified himself because he went here with a lot of things that did not go so. And the journalist should have looked at about it. Could you run the chance of putting a man like that in Jamaica House? This is a fake demonstration.
I think the most egregious part of last evening was the answer Mr. Golding gave on the salary increase.
Yes.
My God.
I really was taken aback by that because it was almost as if Mr. Golding was asking us to ignore the evidence of our eyes and our ears.
Yes.
We watched it. It was live in Parliament, you know, and I was really taken aback.
That was a blatant lie.
That he tried to suggest that, you know,
it was a matter of principle. I was like, what are you even saying? Because my recollection is that Julian Robinson even went further to ask about retired politicians. Yeah, so he embraced it. Yeah.
And you know what grieved me more than all? Is when I look, let me tell you something. If you ever know the amount of people right now, 2 people crying, that they cannot hear nationwide in Tree Hills and another place in St. Anne's there, I'm telling you, and crying, and so them sabotaging Mr. Hughes, and crying, and if I say that go election, might as well them left Jamaica. They cannot hear. And I mean, when I turn and say to Mr. Hughes, how do you, without a fact check, know when somebody is telling lie? And Mr. Hughes tell me, Papa Nana said, yeah, every year I mean to know. To prove it. Look on the amount of things that Mr. Golding said last night that did not went like how it go.
All right, Papa Nana. The Saint, he says, Ricardo, the debate rules didn't allow for scrutiny of Mark's document after the event. Journalists could have approached him.
I don't think the rules allow him to walk in with anything else.
Right. I don't think you were allowed props at all, but the moderator didn't flag it. Didn't stop it. You know, that said, I think after the journalist, it would be fair for the journalist to approach him to examine the document. Courtney.
Yeah, good night, Ricardo.
Hey, how you do?
Yeah, man, good night, Mr. Hughes.
Good night, sir. Good night.
Yeah, blessings, man. Ricardo.
Yes, sir.
You and Nadine, Ricardo, you know, I always admire your honesty. When you speak, you remind me of Andrew Holness. When you talk, you know, I see the passion in what you're saying, even if I am not agreeing with what you are saying.
Okay.
I can see that you are speaking the truth.
I believe I believe it, yes.
You believe what you are saying, and I respect that. And Nadine, I've never known Nadine to take a side. Nadine is somebody, when she's on the program, whatever program she's on, wherever she is, she speaks confidently to what she's saying, and she speaks to the point.
Yes.
You know, I'm really respect that about you and Nadine. What I saw last night, a lot of people is upscupping around. The Giovanni asked Mr. Holness a disingenuous question when he asked
was
why.
That the one about the attack on the institutions
and the media?
Yeah, it was phrased. Yes, it was oddly phrased that
that was disingenuous because it was all over the news. All over the news that the PNP refuses to participate in the debate if certain journalists from nationwide. The news also stated that the PNP came with a blacklist. The JLP did not come with a blacklist. It was the same PNP who went overseas in the media to tear down the Jamaican journalists, whichever journalists they were speaking about at that time, because they didn't name a journalist, but they said the journalist in Jamaica was in favor of the JLP party. That was what they said overseas.
And if I could just say to Mr. Golding, because he tried to make a distinction between fair criticism of what he considers unprofessional conduct and, you know, not attacking the media or the press. But I say to him, nobody's ever said to him he cannot criticize the media or journalists. What people object to is outright vitriol. Outright vitriol. And I agree with you that he was not challenged on what was an insincere answer to that question. Yeah.
I was so, I don't even know the word to say. When I heard it out of the PNP mouth themselves, when I heard it on the news, it was one thing. But when the question was put to them at the media, and they was telling Colin Campbell not to answer, and he answered, I couldn't believe that they come on public media and said yes, the blacklist they wanted not. And if you guys and Emily She's they wanted to blacklist it because Emily She's used to They went even as far as that. And then Giovanni, of all the questions he could have posed, he asked Mr. Holness, why was the JLP and the PNP, and I keep making this distinction.
And if I recall correctly, it was also ring-fenced in this is something about attacks on journalists in Gaza. Yeah, it was a very oddly framed question because,
they were, to what I saw last night, and this is me speaking now from my perspective, to what I saw last night, they came prepared to ask Mr. Holness some questions that would put Mark Golding in the light. But it was everything that they came planned with last night. Mr. God was on Mr. Holness' side. And the whole card pack was shuffled. The whole card pack was shuffled. And I respect Mr. Holness. He got ignorant at one point, but I saw where he said, like, him just backing himself and said, I have to be.
But here's the thing, and it's so interesting because the same people who I saw praising Julian Robinson's belligerence and just coming across angry are criticizing Andrew Holness for the same.
Thank you very much.
Which I find
much.
rather odd to tell the truth. But we're out of time, my brother.
Yeah, man.
Have a good night. Appreciate the call.
Continue to hold your points and continue to be the good journalist you are, brother.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. That's where we're going to leave it for this evening. Want to say thanks to our producers, Sana Stewart, Dana Davey, of course, our technical operator, Andrew Anderson, and members of the news and production team, led by Cara Powell and Ricardo Brooks. Thank you all so much. Well, I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks. And remember, if you don't yet have a plan to vote, you might want to spend some time over the weekend and think it through. Think it through. It's important. And no matter what party you intend to support next Wednesday, you should turn up at that polling station if you are registered and cast your vote. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
I'm Cliff Hughes. Remember now, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
Good night.
The following is a paid announcement by Young Jamaica. Whenever you hear the grand promises from the PNP, remember this confession from their spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson.
We don't explain limitations when we campaign. We don't. None of us do, because